Hello and welcome to another episode of The Grindbin. I'm Mike Wood.
I'm Chris Mann.
And today we have a special guest. We have Corey G., one half of the 1980s movie Graveyard podcast.
Hey, Bobby, I got the money.
Dad, I made the team. But you're a hooker.
Get that goddamn thing out of your mouth.
Spooky ain't got no real coach. Brenda, we're gonna play a little game, baby.
I just love fun and games. Get a little girl all hot and horny.
You could have been decent once in a while. And maybe Daddy would have had to kill himself because he couldn't get it up anymore.
What a shame.
Come on, just step on the gas before we get creepy. And
How's it going, guys?
Pretty good. Really glad to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be here.
I know you're a big Charles Bronson fan.
You know, the truth be told, I always hated Charles Bronson. Like I always thought he was just some fat old fuck that was well past his prime. And then I got Death Wish because it's an actually good film. And then the more I actually embraced the stupidity and ridiculousness of it, I started to become a fan. I've been buying up every Blu-ray that I could of him. So.
Yeah, the thing that really sucks about his movies is you got to almost buy them individually.
Yeah.
You can't find those collections like most of these guys.
The one we're watching tonight, that we did watch for tonight, I have on a double pack with 10 Till Midnight.
Yeah, that's how I have it too. That's one of the few double packs I could find for Bronson. Otherwise, some of them are, you can get the Death Wishes, but they're all in full screen. Rather just not watch it like that.
Well, see, and I have the Death Wish box set, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I had to buy 5 separate because I don't think 5 was by a different company, I think, at that point in time.
Yes, which I actually do have in the notes. We will get to what happened with 5. So as nobody's seen this movie, Kinjite, I have to say that it's probably one of the most, if not the most racist movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I've seen Birth of a Nation, so...
You can't tell if the guy writing was trying almost pro-racist in a way, because I felt like it seems like he was waiting for the audience to stand up and applaud at certain lines.
Come on! Oh yeah!
He
Move
was
that
never
car!
out there. I mean, he was sitting there, but he's you people. He wasn't calling them Japs at slopes.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't Gran Torino racism, but it was still,
It was almost like a call to arms. They were trying to get out of people.
I still think in 1989, Oriental wasn't the preferred term.
No.
But this is a special movie because it is the last movie that Bronson did with the director J. Lee Thompson. They did 9 films together, and they did a lot of canon films, which this is also Charles Bronson's last canon film.
Canon is the staple of excellence, though. At least for our podcast, it is. I think we'll probably go through most of the one show that comes out next week is a canon film. So I mean, we love canon where we're from.
Oh yeah, for the 80s it's canon. For us, the 70s it was Crown International.
Yes. AIP was really good too.
So J. Lee Thompson, he's an interesting guy, the director of this movie. He died in 2002, 88 years old, was Charles Bronson's director of choice for his pictures, and it said because Bronson liked Thompson's fast, no-frills method of shooting. He was nicknamed Mighty Mouse. He got that from Gregory Peck during the filming of The Guns of the Navarone, 1961. The original director was fired, and Thompson was hired on short notice, but managed to smooth things out, and the film was a tremendous hit.
Nice.
His son, Peter Lee Thompson, was an editor, and he edited this movie, as well as a lot of canon movies, actually, American Ninja, Murphy's Law, Messenger of Death, and 10 to Midnight, and he also edited Exorcist 3.
Oh, another classic.
Exorcist 3,
Yeah.
I just pre-ordered my Blu-ray of Exorcist 3, actually.
I like that it was pre-ordered. So
Waiting by the mailbox patiently.
So he has a total of 49 directing credits. A ton.
Jesus.
Started all the way back in 1950. His big hit was 1961 Guns of the Navarone with Gregory Peck, David Niven, Anthony Quinn. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Screenplay, and more. It just won for effects.
Yeah.
But after that, he started making a ton of movies. 1962, one of my favorite old movies, actually, is he made the original Cape Fear with Robert Mitchum and Gregory Peck.
Yeah, that's great.
He went on to work in a lot of movies with Yul Brynner, Tony Curtis, Shirley MacLaine, Paul Newman. I mean, he had quite the career. He directed 2 of the Planet of the Apes movies. 1972, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. 1973, Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
I actually like Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
I don't think I've even seen
I
that one.
didn't know that existed.
That was the very
I mean,
last
I know
one, wasn't
Playmate
it?
of the Apes, but not that one.
Playmate of the Apes.
Yeah, my best friend Nate and I at the time, we would go to Tower and just annoy the Tower Records staff by requesting over the intercom Playmate of the Apes if they can find it for us somewhere in the bathroom. Like,
Is that a real movie?
yeah.
Nice. I remember
Watch-
Flesh Gordon, but not Playmate of the Apes.
Oh yeah, like the ape. Look at the trailer because it's like the apes somehow they make them look like Goldie Hawn for some reason. It's a weird facial
Nice.
thing.
Like
but,
old Goldie Hawn or new Goldie Hawn?
an amalgamation of both.
So yeah, he had quite the career, and then just kind of met Charles Bronson, and from there, we know the story. 9 Bronson films, all of varying marks of quality. He did 10 to Midnight, which you guys covered on your podcast, Corey.
10 to Midnight's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good one. Have you seen that one, Chris?
Yes.
And yeah, he did Murphy's Law. I mean, all the big Bronson
That's
movies.
the one that I've actually never seen. I had to buy it for our show, and I have not sat down to watch it yet. I've never in my life seen that one.
That one, the only reason I know anything about Murphy's Law is because it has Angel Tompkins, who is in The Teacher, which is a movie we covered a while ago. And she's in it. What does she just play, like hooker or something?
Yeah.
And then he directed one Chuck Norris movie, 1986, Firewalker. I haven't seen that one, but Chuck Norris and Lou Gossett
Yeah, it's
Jr.
one with Louis Gossett Jr. Yeah, I hate Chuck Norris, but yeah, I've seen that. I literally, there's no one I hate more than Chuck Norris.
We covered, you said you'd seen Lost Faith, right? That was the last movie we covered. By this guy, Joel Wynkoop. And it's like a VHS home movie that he released onto, I guess somebody released it on DVD.
Yeah, like cult movie classics.
No, I saw Thrashin', of course, because I have the Thrashin' T-shirt, and Switchblade Sisters, but I don't remember Lost Space.
Lost Faith, we just recorded that one last night. We haven't released it
Yeah,
yet.
that one's still somewhat subterranean. in,
Yeah, it's
many
pretty
circles.
great. It's like one man's version of a Chuck Norris movie with the handy cam.
But no microphone or any
The
other.
only Chuck
recording.
Norris movie like I didn't mind was Hellbound, where he fought Satan, and I think that's just because it was so ridiculous that you can actually say Chuck Norris even beats Satan.
I've never seen that one,
Never
but I
seen
love
it,
the
never
sound
heard
of it.
I want to see it now.
Yeah, I'm not like recommending it because it's not like a really good movie.
Oh no, we are taking that as a stern
It's Chuck Norris
recommendation.
versus the devil.
Yeah, like sold, like sold.
I showed Chris parts of Invasion USA one night. Because really, all it is just parts of action movies combined into one movie.
I guess if I had to mention like one Chuck Norris movie that's watchable, that would probably be it.
Because there's just no, there's really no story. We just go from scene to scene, kicks ass. We never slow down. Although, you know, another good Norris movie is Top Dog, if you've never seen that.
No, let's not forget Sidekicks, where he beats Joe Piscopo. Which
Oh,
is
yeah.
just a crime
But did
in itself.
Sidekicks have a dog driving the car?
No. Didn't he do a couple of those dog movies?
Yeah, Top Dog was Norris and a dog, and they take down a white supremacist ring.
Didn't he do another one though, where he was with an actual like a German Shepherd's like canine karate dog or some shit like that?
I don't know. I don't know if I've seen that one. All I know is that Top Dog was when he got into that part of his career where all his movies are directed by his brother.
Yeah.
Star of Delta Force like 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, all made by the producer of this movie, which I'm going to get to real quick. All right, so last things about the director. Death Wish 4. That's the only Death Wish he did. Messenger of Death. And then his last movie he ever directed was Kinjite. So the writer of this movie, Harold Nebenthal, which I was like, well, I got to know who wrote this movie. So he was born in Berlin, and he was from a family of film producers. He served in the Marine Corps during World War II, which didn't surprise me at all.
It explains so much.
But as a Japanese interpreter, which I thought was even stranger.
Yeah,
See,
my
I was
jaw
waiting
just
for you to
dropped.
say it was written by like a Pearl Harbor survivor or something.
Not too many screenwriting credits. He had some interesting producing credits, though. He was associate producer on the movie M, if you've ever seen that, which is a really famous old movie. It's on Criterion.
Oh, cool.
And that's about a
I
child
know of
killer.
that. Yeah, I know of that movie. Is that the one with the kind of the fists and the? I'm thinking I'm thinking some
I don't
Fritz
think
Lang
so.
looking film, but
But this is one of the very few screenplays he wrote. The other thing I had was associate producer on 1972's Cabaret. But he doesn't have too many credits. But he didn't write much, so it's odd. Producers, I mean, this is where we get into canon. You have Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus, Canon Films. We could do a whole episode about it. Corey, you have a whole podcast pretty much.
Oh, God. I have a Canon t-shirt, for God's sake.
yeah,
I haven't ordered mine yet, but I know it's only a matter of time. I have my Crown shirt.
yeah.
Yeah, Rotten Cotton, they have that whole, I think if you go on their website, like they
Yeah.
even have a whole section out just Canon gear, and it's like all the Canon shirts and everything.
These guys, and if you get the chance, there's a documentary you can find on Netflix about Canon Films, and I highly recommend watching it. It's great. And in true Canon fashion, when they found out somebody was making a documentary about them, they quickly made their own version and tried to release it even earlier. You can't find it yet because apparently it's not on DVD.
It's
People
on,
say-
I watched it, the Go-Go Boy. It's on YouTube, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
All right, I'm going to have to
it's
check
cool.
that out.
The Electric Boogaloo is even though I found Electric Boogaloo to be very, very short and glossed over, it was way better of the two.
That's what I heard, yeah. But if you're not familiar with them, two Israeli filmmakers started out making a very famous movie called Lemon Popsicle. And I know somebody from Israel. I work with somebody. And I brought that movie up to him because I wanted to know. And he says that every young boy watches that movie.
Really?
Like it's a huge hit.
Interesting.
In Israel, still till today. They came over here and they kind of remade it in an American version. It's called The Last American Virgin. If you've
That's a
never
good
seen
Yeah,
one.
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
They went on to produce produce and direct lots of Hollywood blockbusters under the Canon groups. All of Chuck Norris's films, pretty much. Breakin' 1 and 2. Over the Top with Stallone, which they famously paid him, I believe it was $8 million at the time to be in that movie. Lots of Van Damme movies. You got Bloodsport, Cyborg, got Delta Force, American Ninja, Masters of the Universe, all the Death Wish sequels, not the original, and just many, many, many more. At one
You
point,
forgot my favorite, Revenge of the Ninja.
Revenge. How many American Ninjas did they end up making?
There's 4 real ones, and then the guy that came in part 3 and 4, the new one, he did another like horrible schlocky martial arts film that no one cared about, so they just slapped American Ninja 5 on the title.
The other one I don't have in here was they made those Alan Quartermain movies, which were like direct rip-offs of Indiana Jones.
Oh, they're fantastic.
And was it the first one, I believe, has Elvira, but she's not
Yeah.
Elvira.
Yeah.
She's not Elvira, and then I can't remember who the girl is. Is it Sharon Stone?
I think it is, actually.
I think
It's somebody very famous, yeah. You've seen Action Jackson?
Yes.
She was Craig T. Nelson's wife.
Coach's wife.
Reminds me of that Poltergeist movie idea we had when we were gonna have was it Poltergeist 4? Was it gonna be football themed? And Craig T.
Oh,
Nelson.
yeah,
was
we
the
wanted to do
coach?
a Poltergeist 4, but it crosses over with the show Coach.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it'd still be a coach.
I think that the end scene, we didn't know how it would go, but the end scene we knew would be the team winning and Craig T. Nelson be like, all surprised, like, how did we win? And then the camera zooms in on the mascot, and the mascot takes off its head, and it's Zelda Rubinstein. And she winks at the camera and waves, and then Coach goes, "Aw," and then we just pan out to the bleachers, the crowd, and then roll credits.
Someone's going to steal that idea from you now.
Fine by me. I'd like to see it made. If they have the money,
yeah.
go for it.
Zelda Rubinstein has to be dead, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Oh, what was the one? I like the one movie she was in. I think she was in Anguish, where the guy was like killing people in the movie theater. It was like a film within a film.
Oh, wow.
I have not seen this one.
She's like his like.
Does she
his
do the
mom.
killing?
No, she was like the weirdo's mom, and he would like gut out people's eyes, and it's like they're watching a movie of that, but there's an actual guy of a theater going around killing the people in the audience at the same time. Anger Bay put it out. It's pretty good.
I'm going to have to check this one out. I'm a big Zelda fan.
Yeah. I'm back at the Z.
Back to Z. All right, so we got into the actors now. Bronson doesn't need an introduction. I'm sure everybody knows who he is. You affectionately call him Boyo.
I always call him Boyo.
Where do you get that from?
I've heard people say it before, like it's some like hokey like Canadian term, and everybody's like, "Yeah, that's Charles Bronson, Boyo," and all that. So we've just always kept it up and just always call him Boyo now.
Perry Lopez, who plays Eddie Rios, who's his partner. At first, when I watched this movie again, I was like, oh, wait, I don't really remember this guy. And then upon watching it again, I'm like, oh, he's in almost like all the scenes with Bronson. I just totally forget he's there because he pretty much serves almost no purpose other than to calm down Bronson when he's getting on one of his racist tirades. He's in a lot, though. 72 credits. Best well known for Chinatown, Kelly's Heroes, Mr. Roberts, and McClintock. Juan Fernandez, who played Duke, 62 credits, tons of TV, horror films, and movies. Don't know if anything you've heard of. 1985, Salvador. 1993, Necronomicon, Book of the Dead. 2003, A Man Apart with Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
2009, he was in The Collector, and I only mention that because it also has Jake from Savage Streets in it.
That's right.
Collector's a great movie. Both of them I liked, actually.
I haven't seen that one.
It's very good.
The only reason I know about Collector is because it has the gang leader from Savage Streets in it, and I guess he plays the Collector.
Yeah.
He's got a mask on his head the whole time. So. The only guy, before you give his credits, I'll just say the only person I recognized from this whole cast, with the exception of Bronson, was the pimp or the human trafficker or whatever he was. He like branched out into big time pimping. Was his valet driver, the black guy. That was the only guy I recognized.
Yeah, I have him in here. Cy Richardson. Levon, which I don't even think it says his name in the movie. I don't remember it. I just wrote him down as partner. But yeah, he was in a ton of movies, 106 credits, Repo Man, Colors. He was in the show Pushing Daisies, tons and tons of stuff.
I know him from Repo Man because I'm actually, with the exception of the ending that I've always disliked, because I was always like really heavy into the punk scene and the punk music when I was younger. So Repo Man was always like a staple of something I watched.
Yeah, I love that movie. So James Pax, who plays Hiroshi, lots of work. Currently lives in China, where he's directing movies, but you can't find any of the credits for him on IMDb. They just list whatever movies he's making. 32 acting credits. I did find this interesting. Not his first canon film. 1985, Invasion USA. He was in that. 1986, he was in Big Trouble Little China. Lots of TV, one episode here or there of Nash Bridges, Silk Stockings, TJ Hooker,
Who
MacGyver.
was he in Big Trouble?
I think he's just some random guy. I don't think it was a big role. Here's one I didn't know, though. Peggy Lipton, who plays Kathleen Crow's Bronson's wife. Best known originally as Julie Barnes on every single episode of The Mod Squad. So I didn't know that one. 46 credits. She was in 1988 Purple People Eater. Quote from her on that movie says, "I ran into Neil Patrick Harris recently. We were in something called Purple People Eater. He was maybe 10, but he still remembered it as the worst experience of his life." Other stuff, 1990, Twin Peaks, every episode is Norma Jennings. 1992, Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me. She was in The Postman. 1997, Kevin Costner. 2017, she's coming back for the new episodes of Twin Peaks. But here's something. Did you guys know this? She is a mother with Quincy Jones of Rashida Jones. She's her mom.
Did not know that.
Didn't know
that's
that
cool.
either. But I don't know who Rashida Jones is, so that kind of.
She's in Parks and Recreation. This show,
Angie.
yes,
Tribeca.
So it says in the trivia, Rashida Jones is recording this TV show, Angie Tribeca, on the same stage they filmed the Mod Squad on, which is kind of odd.
That's awesome.
And then the only other thing I have for her is at one point she dated Elvis Presley. Nicole Eggert. Dee Dee.
Oh, yeah, I remember Nicole Eggert.
Barely in this movie. She almost gets sodomized at the start.
Yeah, that's the opening scene.
And then she comes back for a small part. 69 credits, most well known for her roles on Baywatch, as well as Charles in Charge. Last credit I have for an actor, Amy Hathaway, Rita, who's his daughter. 37 credits. She was in The Client, Courage Under Fire, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That's all I got for the cast. Little bit of trivia before we get into the movie. We already said last movie Charles Bronson made for Canon Films. However, Charles Bronson's final movie that he made with both producers was this. But Death Wish 5 was made with just Golan after Cannon Films dissolved and went into bankruptcy. And Golan went on to make a few more movies.
And did you see they are remaking Death Wish now? That's the big rumor.
For the second time, because they
With,
remade it with...
Stallone.
Oh, Stallone's in it now?
That's what he wants to do it. I guess, like, back in the day, he auditioned for it.
Oh, wow. Because I know they remade it with Kevin Bacon, about 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Death Sentence? See, I never
is
got
it
why
Death
everybody.
Sentence?
Yeah, but I never got why everybody said that was. I think like if you follow the series of books or something. But I mean, as awesome as that movie was, it really wasn't anything like Death Wish.
It'd be weird if they remake it with Stallone.
Can you
I mean, I
imagine
guess it's
that?
kind of fitting because Bronson's so old in all these movies. to
Yeah.
Just stick another 70-year-old in it.
Yeah.
The only thing like Stallone wouldn't need a gun. He would just beat you to death because he's still so seriously jacked.
Bronson was 67 when he appeared in this movie. And apparently, many critics felt he was too old to play a serving police officer.
Yeah. He's well past retirement at that time. He even like
he
bitches about his
was, like,
pension.
You could tell he wouldn't be a legit cop. He'd be like on pensions or something, but he plays the part like hard nosed and badass enough as to where he's kind of believed like he's at the tail end of his career, of course.
Or spiraling the drain, one of the two.
I
He
always
was younger in this than he did in Death Wish 2.
You know, the thing about Bronson is he is just Liam Neeson is like the modern day Charles Bronson. He's like in his 60s starring in all these action movies, and I'd say they're pretty similar. Taken is, to me, pretty similar to most of the Death Wish type movies in terms of what they are.
I agree with that.
Go back though and look at a picture of Bronson when he was 30. I mean, he looked like he was 58 then. I mean, he's like Tommy Lee Jones. They just like they were born like looking old.
A lot of city miles on him.
It's like a lot of city. He's like with that lady from Murder She Wrote, you know? Was she ever young?
Angela Lansbury? You mean, I thought that was Paul McCartney.
So I say this is the final film Charles Bronson made before his wife died, Jill Ireland. And this was his final movie of the 1980s. So before we get into the movie, guys, I found a review from IMDb that I really liked that I'm going to go ahead and read. I cut some of it out because he told the whole plot in his review. Like literally every big reveal and everything.
So this wouldn't be by a certain someone, though.
No.
Okay.
It says, it's titled One of Bronson's Better Movies, 10 out of 10, by New Sense, the 19th of May, 2009. I remember when Kinjite first came out. It received harsh reviews from the Beavis and Butthead of snob reviewers. No names needed. You know who they are. When I finally saw it, I liked it. Of course, it's not perfect, but what movie under Golan and Globus is? Plus, they trashed the movie because of the subject matter, but the subject matter happens in real life. The storyline is what keeps the movie interesting. The action scenes are kept to a minimum, and Charles Bronson has some pretty funny lines. The main reason why I like Kinjite, Forbidden Subjects, is that you can tell there was an effort to make it work. It wasn't your typical Charles Bronson fare, and that made it appealing. It's easy to slam this movie based on a subject matter that repulses most people, but it isn't being fair. Child prostitution is a reality, so bashing a movie for showing a reality is pretty damn stupid. But what can you expect from the same critics that gave Speed 2 Booze Control 2 thumbs up? If you love the late Charles Bronson movies, then you can't go wrong with Kinjite. It's better than the weak link of the Death Wish series.
No.
No, what did they consider was the weak link of the Death Wish series?
I don't know.
'Cause, I mean, 3 and 5 were so ridiculously bad. They were fun.
I thought the weirdest thing I thought about that review is that this was written in 2009, and he's still pissed that somebody gave Speed 2 a good review.
Well, that's a travesty in itself. But I mean, I remember Roger Ebert gave it like a big thumbs down. He hated this film.
Oh yes,
Gave it like 1 star.
I found a lot of like real reviews for this movie, and
They're
were
not all
great.
that bad. Like some of the ones like from Variety in New York at times and all that when it came out, they weren't like trash in the movie. It was just product of its time.
I just can't believe it. This movie is very dark.
There are no light moments. There's
No.
not one time where you're like, hey, it just doesn't let up.
Well, that's the thing I think is the weirdest thing, and that's why I love this movie, is that there's parts where Bronson says things where you know there's supposed to be a laugh.
Yeah.
But with the movie as a whole, you're like, well,
It's
I mean,
depressing.
am I supposed to be laughing?
Yeah.
Okay, there were a couple parts I laughed at. I mean, I have no shame in admitting that. But,
Well, some of the parts
few
you-
and far between.
Yeah.
Some parts are like, you're not supposed to laugh, but you do because it's just so stupid.
So let's get into the movie.
Yes.
And I wrote, Canon Films logo comes up, mark of quality for the 80s. We know we're in for a ride. We open on a shot of a briefcase, a whip, Vaseline, and some other things. We see a woman undressing down her underwear. A man's hand takes something out of the briefcase, and we see a very prominent shot of a dildo.
I thought it was going to be a Robert Palmer music video.
I was hoping it would be that jack-off gun from 10 to midnight.
Oh, yeah. You've seen 10 to Midnight? Oh my God. When he goes into that guy's house and he pulls that out in the middle of the interrogation room.
Yeah.
This is for jacking off. He slams it on.
He ties the woman to the bed. Then he grabs that dildo out of the briefcase and the Vaseline. Can't forget the Vaseline. And at this point, I wondered, do you think Vaseline at all points sponsored the movie, or
It's
was
so prominently displayed.
it's like so clear it was actually Vaseline because it's the only bottle like that.
You know, from back then. So
But I wonder if they had to clear it, or Vaseline was like, "Yeah, could you throw it in there? We'd really like to get that in."
We mean the briefcase. Throw it in the briefcase.
Then we cut to another scene where there's just this naked girl laying on a ottoman and somebody touches her, and I was confused, like, wait, what? Is this still the same room? Nope, don't have any time, because now we're out on the town.
Yep.
It's LA. We know this because we sit on a billboard of a cop, and I wrote, looks like stealing a little girl's ice cream cone. Did you notice that?
Yep.
yeah.
And it says Los Angeles Police Department to protect and serve. We pan down to the car, and Bronson and his partner are sitting there. They talk about food, nouvelle cuisine or something. But do you guys remember this? I would say the oddest line in the whole movie comes in the first 2 minutes when his partner says,
Maxine's is not a joint where the vegetables look like baby doo-doo.
So we're going to like 5th grade level vocabulary at this
Yeah,
point.
I see that. That made no sense.
like, do you think they were just dying on set? Like, they cut it and they're like, oh, that was fucking brilliant.
No, I thought, well, the crew was probably like, oh, God damn it. Can we like just hurry this along? And the writer is probably like, oh, God, yeah, you delivered it so great.
It's such a weird start to this movie. It doesn't set the tone at all.
No.
A guy and a girl, they pull up across the street. Bronson says, it's that sleazebag Duke. His partner says, that kid looks like a miter. Bronson goes, yeah. She looks about the same age as my daughter. And I said, the way he delivers this line, very
It's
creepy.
fucking
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah, she looks about the same age as my daughter.
Like, almost like, let's get them together sometime and take pictures. That kind of creepy.
And I say there's multiple points in this movie where Bronson is like giving a really weird smile while somebody's telling him something like borderline disgusting.
Plus, every time he's in a scene with his daughter, it's like he's checking her out.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
awkward. It's so awkward.
Do you want to sit on my daddy's lap? You know, I mean, it's just really creepy at points.
Every time that he's like overprotective of her, yeah, you're right. It does get really creepy. Like, why don't you come over? Daddy will take care of you.
Yeah.
So they leave the car and they go in the hotel. And this is where we get our first encounter of how Bronson, whether it's an actor choice or a character choice, is going to be racist to anybody that's not white. He walks up to this Indian guy behind the counter and he goes,
this scene.
something about, where's that little girl that just came in here? And the guy goes, what girl, sir? Bronson grabs him. He grabs him by the tie and he goes,
Girl that just came in here. Which room?
That would be which girl, sir?
You try me, you'll wish you were back in Mother India.
You think they like wrote that in on like the actor didn't just happen to be Indian. They just had to get an Indian actor just to deliver this line.
That's
just-
an interesting thing. Do you think that the Indian guy showed up on set, or they casted him and they're like, oh, we got to work in some sort of a racist line here?
That is my question.
I think Bronson just saw that he was Indian and might have ad-libbed.
He's all perfect. I'm going to walk in here. He's going to say something about go to Mother India.
He's all cracking his
This time he
knuckles.
was an old man. He did all those war movies. He might have been like having dementia and flashbacks starting to set in. So
This to me, you mentioned Gran Torino earlier. This is like Bronson's Gran Torino almost.
pretty much, yeah.
So we go in the hotel room. They kick in the door. And I like this is that the guy who's about to have a good time with Dee Dee gets all upset about it. He's like, hey, you just can't come in here. I'm paid for my time. What are you doing?
Who the fuck are you?
Get that kid over to Father Burke's.
Damn it. Fuck you and your badge. You can't come in here like that and abuse somebody's privacy, you son of a bitch.
I'm going to take you down to the station.
Bullshit I am.
And then when he finds out it's the cops, he's still not really worried about it. He's just like, I got rights.
Oh, yeah, and then he starts swinging at him.
Yeah, I love it. His immediate reaction is to swing. And we get this really horribly cut fight scene because you can tell Bronson really can't, can't get it done much anymore.
It's just extreme close-ups of like a fist to his side.
Yeah.
Or like an abdomen shot, and it's like there's not even any force to the punch. Like there's not even any blur to the fist. Usually when you throw a punch on screen, you can see the trail from the speed of the punch. It's just like a tap.
He does that sweet jump kick, where he basically gets an inch off the ground and kicks the guy and someone magically sends him flying into a closet.
I love how much breakaway stuff there is in this movie. Every time there's a fight scene to compensate for Bronson's terrible fighting skills, they just have him just throw him into a shelf or a closet and we'll break it. And he's kicks him so fucking hard through a closet.
You dirty bastard.
And I like, before he kicks him through the closet, the guy keeps picking up random objects to throw at him, and he just stands there and dodges them. He throws that vase at him, then he throws the clothes rack at him.
I've never stayed at a hotel that had that nice of a clothes rack.
I've never even, in the bedroom too, which is an odd place for one.
That was a pretty high class place too to take a hooker.
Yeah, well, Duke runs a classy operation, which we find out. He's a nice dresser. He takes people to Jamaica.
This is a premier service. Premier.
So Bronson kicks him through that closet, and he goes, "You dirty bastard! You get pleasure from hurting kids." And he wants this guy to swear a statement about this guy Duke, and that he's bringing him the kid, and the guy refuses. So Bronson chucks him on the bed, and in my favorite scene in the entire movie, he says,
You're going to feel what it's like to be one of those kids.
"Hey, Chris, what happened?"
He decides to remove an object from this briefcase that we saw earlier. It happens to be the dildo. And he is going to give it where it counts, to say lightly.
That's when he needed the gun from 10 to midnight, and hooked the dildo to it and went, this is for jacking off. And he could really ramrodded one with
If he had that gun and pointed it in the air and started going with it, because the way he holds this dildo is too good.
Yeah.
I think it's odd to me to see him hold it with that fist, and he's got it right by the base, he's ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't keep Nicole Eggert in there and be like, make a watch how it's done like that. Like really put it in there.
It's like a singer thrusting the microphone into the crowd. The way there's a grip it's great.
And I love is that so his partner walks Nicole Eggert out of the room, but you hear the screams.
Yeah.
So it does happen.
Yeah.
The first time I saw this movie, I was like, no. I wasn't seeing that right.
Yeah.
I rewound it and I was like, oh my God. This movie starts the first 5 minutes, Bronson rapes a man in a hotel room.
It's kind of like the inspiration for Irreversible.
So we go to okay. So you would think we're probably not going to hear about that dildo again. No. The next scene, we're at his house, and his wife is making dinner, and Bronson walks in and he washes his hands and dries them off, and then he says, "I don't think I'll be able to eat tonight." Says something about it's the job and it's just getting to me. Then he starts going on some shit about buying a tavern or something with his wife. Then he breaks into...
You're a good man. They just got your Irish temper all flared up.
Yeah. He goes, "I did something stupid. It might jeopardize my pension. That's when his wife says that line. Yeah, Bug. Yeah, you just probably got your Irish up. He smiles and he feels better. And I wrote, he did rape a man tonight.
Yeah, she should have asked him. Did you like took a dildo out of a briefcase and rammed it up this dude's ass?
If they had actually gotten to the detail of it, it would have just been incredible.
I want to know, like, did he destroy the evidence, the dildo, so he wouldn't be like prosecuted later? Like, the guy comes back and files a complaint to lodge a complaint against the thing lodged in his ass.
Well, as we learned, the police chief, he probably wouldn't care too much.
No.
But did he even arrest the guy, or did he just leave him like strapped up to the bed?
I feel like he just shoved it up, walked out, and left.
But they do not
Because
disturb
technically
sign.
he had no warrant. He had no probable cause. He's already shaken down a poor Indian man at the fucking lobby. I mean, the guy, you know, to his knowledge, I mean, you could get him for assault on a cop, but still.
Yeah, good luck proving it with the dildo sticking up his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing about Bronson is he says something like that would jeopardize his pension. I think a lot of things he does in this movie jeopardize his pension. So we cut away from him sharing that moment with his wife to Tokyo, where we get, of course, how do we know we're in Tokyo? Well, we have the slightly Asian music playing and a ton of people walking around the streets. We cut to a meeting room with a white guy trying to teach English to Japanese businessmen, or how they act in America. Yeah. And the only notes I had from this were just got to make sure you don't bow. Nobody in America cares about your problems.
Firm grip on the handshake.
And then he says something about don't mention bowel movements.
Yeah, anything below the waist you don't talk about.
Yeah, it's like, what is it? At this point, they just...
Are they 10-year-olds teaching a room full of fucking 5th graders?
Now, when you go over, don't talk about having to take a shit. Nobody in America wants to hear that. I know you Japanese just run around here talking about it all the time. I mean, I've never been to Japan. I don't know if this is a normal thing over there, but correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think so.
No.
Because neither Mr. Jones nor anyone else in America gives a damn about your health, your family, or your problems. And you cannot ever speak of bowels in polite society.
I wouldn't think, but I don't know. I think this guy had a lot of issues.
So we learned, which, by the way, wonderful. In the first 10 minutes, we worked the title into the movie because a lot of people probably saw this movie wondering, what the fuck is Kinjite supposed to mean?
Kinjite.
They are Kinjite, forbidden subjects in the West.
See, you know where I think they fucked up, though? Because being this was canon and, you know, they always employed mostly the same people. I would have had, like, right after that first scene, that's when I would have had the word Kinjite come up, and I would have hired, like, the guy that did the songs in Bloodsport, and instead of Kumite, I could have kept going Kinjite.
Oh, that would be great.
And I think that would have set the tone a little better.
That would have been great. So we go to this restaurant. Hiroshi and his business partners Hiroshi's business partners leave alone with this hooker, I guess.
Yeah. I thought she was just a real persuasive waitress at first.
I like this. She points at his book and he's like, oh, it's a dictionary. I'm a student. And she says, which one of the oddest lines is that, I like students. It was a student who made me a woman.
You like students?
It was a student who made me a woman. I was afraid. And he was so smart.
Greatest come on ever.
And I wrote, they speak English very well in this scene for people who barely speak it at all.
Yeah.
They've been practicing.
Remarkable.
They just took that course.
Because I would say that the waitress or hooker speaks English almost better than anybody else.
You've had too much to drink, Hada-san. I don't want to spend the night watching you sleep.
Which I thought was really weird because it's like, okay, well, she's just a hooker in Japan.
She took the course first semester.
So we go to Hiroshi's home, which is literally the most stereotypical Japanese front yard. It's like they filmed this in something around LA because he walks home and there's like that little it looks like in Kill Bill where they get in that fight scene, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's a little pond, like a little creek, a little bridge. Like some what have you bushes that's topiary bushes,
some Bushido, a little rock garden.
So he comes in and he's all drunk. Hiroshi's all drunk, and his wife starts yelling at him in Japanese. And we go to his daughter's room, and they also speak English very well.
Yeah.
But then we go back, and his wife's now giving him a massage. Guess she's not mad anymore. So, I couldn't really understand what was going on here. She says something about he's like hiding porn from her or something.
Yeah, like some kind of
she found
like,
something like
kind
a
of
book or
graphic,
something.
like comic hentai.
Was he hiding it out in the yard or something?
Or something like that, yeah. Like, you know, like kind of like Verotic demon-born Danzig style.
He had that like barn like Kiefer Sutherland did in Freeway, you know, and she opened it and all the porn came out of it.
She just opens the closet and it just flies out.
An avalanche of like porn with tentacles and like...
These are adult comic books, Kazuko. Men read them on the train in the office.
Well, did you notice too, like when she was yelling at him, like he must have made her wait because like he had changed from his suit. He's in his like kimono bathrobe smoking a cigarette while she's yelling at him.
So she lets him get dressed before she yells.
Yeah, gotta relax first.
So we go back to Bronson's house, and I was very confused at this point because it's night again, and he's coming home again. And the last thing we saw was he was coming home at night.
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess it's a different day, but I'm not sure because we just cut to Japan. And I thought that was weird. And he walks in, and his daughter, making out with a boy on the couch. And we know Bronson, like you said, Corey, gets very jealous of this.
Let daddy have a taste.
Don't athletes need their sleep? And so do 15-year-old schoolgirls. Parochial schoolgirls.
Damn right, yeah, because it's just wrong. I mean, there's probably no other way to say it because the guy's
because he like acts jealous.
He's like, Dad, you know, I can't remember the kid's name. Like, yeah, you know, he plays for the football team at St. Mary's. Don't athletes need their sleep? I was waiting for him just to pull a gun out on the guy.
And I wrote, he's just a tough dad, you know? He's just misunderstood. Also, maybe a little jealous.
Well, and you think the mom, though, is that she's in downstairs with the boy on the couch in the dark. And the mom's just like, oh, maybe they're fucking, you know? Like, the mom obviously doesn't care. Well, he's a nice kid.
Yeah, because she's like, yeah, what's wrong with you? Why are you so upset? And I wrote, either he's jealous or maybe he raped another man tonight. I don't know.
You know, she's down there in the dark with that stud.
Why does that disturb you? Would you rather she were in the back seat of a car somewhere? What's wrong with Vince? He's a very nice young man. What got you upset? His buttons open, his zipper at half-mast?
You have to paint pictures. It's our daughter we're talking about.
It's got that pent-up frustration.
Do you know where these hands have been?
So we go to, which I thought was an odd choice, an arena football game, which...
Yeah.
It's like, of all the sports, this is just obviously what Cannon could afford.
Yeah.
But as I'll get into in some parts, Cannon paid a lot of money for almost useless scenes. Like
many.
When I don't get to, because the next scene is very, very useless that we see Hiroshi in. But they're at this indoor football game, and Duke, the pimp, and his partner are there. And they're scoping out the crowd with binoculars for some talent. But then he sees Bronson and his daughter. And I wrote, Bronson is very, very into the game. As much as he can be. He's always like pumping his fist and going, yeah, yeah. But just enough to be like, is that enough? Cut. Did I act enough for you?
My thing is, though, like, if you were going to try to scout, like, someone to, like, hook into your drug world to use them in your pornography ring, wouldn't you be looking for, like, runaways, people in, like, halfway houses, people on the street? Why would you go to an arena football game?
Yeah, where they're probably there with their parents or something.
I mean, what could you hope to find there?
Well, his partner even says at that one point, he goes, this is a waste of time. We're not going to find anything.
This is a waste of time. We're not going to get anything inside this place.
Keep your zip up, man. It's still early.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
So we pan over. Duke sees Bronson. Bronson's very into this game, does some fist pumps, but then he says something about he's got to leave. He leaves his daughter. Duke and his guy leave too because they're going to go follow Bronson. And then the daughter's friend, who we'll only see in this scene and one other, sits next to her and says, it must be great having a guy like that for your dad.
She's like all into him too.
Like, do you think Bronson insisted on putting this type of
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, the most self-serving, borderline.
But yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's like borderline incestuous.
I have her say something about how cool I am.
Yeah.
So then she goes, yeah, but sometimes he can be really extreme. And then she goes something about how she forgot to ask her dad for drinks, so they go off to find him. Bronson's buying some hot dogs, and then Duke comes up to him at the concession stand. He starts saying something about how he can make $5,000 a week if he puts his daughter on the streets and all these things. His daughter walks up in the middle of this to both see and hear what's about to happen. And then what happens, guys?
My favorite moment, which I'm glad you're saying this is a useless scene. I disagree, because this scene culminates to this moment where our boy CB takes a fistful of hot dogs full of mustard and just slams them into his face, spraying everywhere. And I think this is the one time where I laughed again, like a drop of pee came out. One of those special scenes where you just can't help it. And they're like, his face, he doesn't have to say anything. You read it in his face, and those guys are just kind of shocked. And I think it was because he was insulted at the $5,000 price.
Hey, bro, you sly dog. You like your own pussy, don't deny. I saw you sitting with a poon pie. She's worth $5,000 a week, man. Put her on the streets.
Yeah, man, you can make a fortune.
He is extreme. No question about it.
And the daughter's friend is like, she's like hugging his daughter, like, oh, like she's like getting off on it. Like when they show it, she's like all happy.
Yeah, they are enjoying it way too much. And at one point, so they're both smiling about it. And then when it's over, I think it's her friend that says he is extreme.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Yeah.
And I wrote, Father of the fucking Year.
Now, see, not to go off topic on you, but now that was bad. But have either of you ever seen Pistol Whip with Steven Seagal?
No, I haven't seen that.
That's on our list now, though.
There's a scene in it where, and this is like straight up where he's like urban Seagal, where he's like in full like, urban mode, and he's having breakfast with this like 20-year-old black girl, and she was like, maybe sometimes I think men would like me better if I had a dick. And Seagal like looks at her, he's like, shit, baby, I wouldn't care long as it wasn't bigger than mine. And she like puts her head on his legs, and she's like, oh, that would be impossible. I was like, oh my God.
It's always a running thing with Seagal movies. Is he's always got to work in a line or two about how his dick is so giant.
Yeah.
Like when his own wife was in Hard to Kill.
Yeah.
And he's in that coma, and she's like, oh, you have so much to live for.
Yeah, but see, that's how this was. Like, unfortunately, at least Seagal gets like, 20-year-old woman. Charles Bronson in this movie, they couldn't afford much. He had like some 15-year-old Catholic schoolgirl like getting all anxious for him.
You know what a gag they should have had in that movie when he's in the coma? Like when they pull out the catheter, it's like attached to like a winch. And it's like going for like 20 minutes, like coming out of
him. You guys haven't done Hard to Kill, have you?
We can't. It was made in 91. The only one he did in the 80s was Above the Law, which we did do.
Oh, yeah. I did listen to that one. Oh, I love Hard to Kill. That's got to be one of my favorite Seagal movies, if not my favorite.
I just watched Sniper the other day with him and Rob Van Dam. Yeah, I still buy his movies. I still like him.
He's still making them, like 2 a year at this point.
2-3 a year, easy, yeah.
We go to, I guess, is this an orphanage that he goes to at this point? So Bronson pulls up to
I don't know if it's
this
an orphanage or a halfway house, or if it's just like a church that takes in people.
Yeah, and he's carrying a brown bag, and there's all these kids around, and I got worried at first, like, oh no. Like, if what's in that bag is what I think it is, we could be in for another Vaseline adventure here.
I thought he was going to, like, the pimp's hangout or something first. Like, man, look at all these child hookers this guy has or whatever. And he goes, it's a priest. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and he walks in and he delivers them lunch. So he must come here all the time. And he hands him a bunch of pictures of all these missing kids. We don't see any of them, but we assume he's like, have you seen any of these? And the priest says something about how they had a 14-year-old come in the other day. And he says, found at the bus terminal, gang raped, sodomized, working the streets. But then we cut back and Bronson has like a smile on his face as he describes this.
Tell me more.
It really is like that. He's just like, yeah, keep going. Got any more stories?
You like start sweating beads of sweat, like,
And then I wrote here, the scene ends. I'm not really sure what happened or what was resolved, but he says something about getting pressure from the top if a kid shows up and he needs to know about it. But then we don't find out anything.
No.
And I'm like, so wait, we just left the scene and Bronson's apparently going to go talk to this 14-year-old?
Yeah.
But see, now here's if you think about it, maybe the kid in question, because remember, he talks to Nicole Eggert, so I'm thinking that was who they were referring to. Did Charles Bronson, his partner, take her to the bus stop and then sodomize her with that same dildo?
You're right, because we never saw what he did that other night.
Yeah, he just said, get her out of here. That's right, so.
Well,
maybe that's why he was checking. Maybe that's why he was smiling. I remember that night.
Good times, good times.
Forearm deep.
Should cut to him like smelling his fingers or something like that. Oh.
So we go back to Tokyo. It's busy. People everywhere. Again, the Asian music comes on because just in case you didn't know we're in Tokyo or Asia, we just got to have it,
It was cheaper to use the music than get 100 extras and put them in bowl cut wigs.
Yeah.
So we go to a train station. Hiroshi files his way onto this crowded train, and he stares at this girl. And you guys remember this scene?
Yeah. It seems like kind of cool, but it makes no fucking sense.
No. So he's sitting there on the train, watching as this girl is groped by a man, and he's like all excited about it, and she's pretending like nothing's happening, I guess, to the best of her ability.
Yeah.
And then it just ends.
Yeah.
There's no he gets really titillated by it because the next scene he goes to that bar with his business partner and he just starts somebody who's a business associate of his, he starts going like, oh, you wouldn't believe what I saw on the train. I saw this girl.
It's like his boss, isn't it?
Yeah.
It says you got the job. You got to hear what was.
Is there something about Japanese
this girl get molested on the bus?
Is there something about Japanese business culture that we are not getting that I've never learned?
He just goes on and on about it. He's like, yeah, she loved it. She loved
Yeah.
it. She was having an orgasm on the train and everything. And he's like, well, I don't think she wanted it. And Hiroshi's like, no. She wanted it. And the guy says, maybe she was just not showing shame, like showing she was being touched because the shame of being touched is worse than the action.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, it's the Japanese way.
If she wasn't enjoying it, why didn't she cry for help? Tell me, Zach. Because she's not some bar girl who knows how to deal with men. Because of shame. Better humiliation than the shame of letting others know that she has been touched. It is the Japanese way, isn't it?
That's probably why there's so few rapes. They're just not reported down there. That's what I'm starting to think now.
It could, that's an interesting thought because maybe it is like, the shame of being.
Shame is a big deal over there.
So the last thing we learn in this scene is he's being transferred to Los Angeles for 3 years, and Hiroshi is excited. A whole new land for him to be a pervert in. So.
But if you were a pervert, why would you want to go there when you could obviously watch somebody get fingered on your way to work?
I think he assumes he's like, well, as we find out, he thinks it's the same in LA. Because he does nothing but be like a total derelict pervert when he gets to town. Whether it's like
he's cracking his knuckles ready to go.
So the next scene, we're about to get to one of my favorite scenes of the movie is we go to the shopping center. Duke's had a nice night out shopping, carrying a bunch of boxes. He's a fancy dresser. But then we see Bronson's there. He's been following him. Duke gets in his car, but Bronson's in the back seat and he's holding a gun and he makes him drive. And the one line he says is, you and me are going to take a drive.
You give me a hard time, I'm going to blow off your kneecaps.
But there was a part where Duke says, I think you're making a major mistake. And I was just like, yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Again, might jeopardize your pension. Like,
he wants to go
as
out.
a forgiving captain.
Yeah, that or he just wants to go out on
I
top.
can't even wait to get to that part.
That was my favorite scene, actually.
Oh God!
So we're in the car driving around, and I wrote it. Throughout this movie, now watching it a few times, I noticed that every time Bronson's in a car is when the racism starts to really he starts to get real pissed in cars.
Yeah.
That's like when the best of him comes out. But what was weird is they're driving in the car, and magically he's now in the front seat. And I was I really wish we could have seen the shot or scene of him getting up to the front. Do you think he made him pull the car over? Was like, hold on, I'm going to get up front, or do you think he climbed over the seat?
In my mind, he climbed over. He doesn't have time to stop.
Do you think he had Duke hold the gun when he did that?
Hold this.
You hold this for a second.
Safety's off.
I'm watching you. So we go to an empty lot. Duke parks the car, and he says to Bronson, he goes, I think you're a little unstable. And he goes, come on, man. What are you making a year? 35 grand? And he takes off his watch, and he gives it to him. He goes, this is worth 25 big ones. And if you take it, we'll never have to see each other again. So Bronson takes the watch, and he says,
I'd like to shove this up your ass, but I don't want to dirty my hands.
And then he gets closer to him, and he points the gun in his face. And in the most surprising moment, he says,
You're going to eat it. You're going to eat it, or I'm going to blow your head off. Open up.
But my favorite part is the next lines when he goes, open up your mouth.
And I gagged during this scene. I started like, oh.
The way
you swallow a Rolex?
I know that. Well, he doesn't, because when he does swallow it, he's having a hard time throughout the rest of the scene.
Eventually, it does go down.
Imagine passing that thing. Oh God!
Open up your mouth.
He makes him, he shoves this into his mouth, and the way he delivers that "open up your mouth" line is just incredible. Duke somehow gets it down. He's having a hard time. Bronson takes the keys from the car, and he goes,
But you are going to have to stick your head between your legs to tell the time.
And that was a high five moment in the writer's room. I assure you.
For sure. And then he gets out of the car and he starts filling it with trash. Duke still can't get that watch down. He's like screaming at him, but all this spit's flying everywhere. It looks like he's really choking. The actor did a really great job.
Oh, he sold it so well. That's why I started choking.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And Bronson tells him something about he needs to stop running the girls or he's dead in the gutter, dead. Duke yells at him while he's trying to still swallow this watch. Bronson lights the car on fire. And then, for no reason at all, it explodes.
I was going, what would be ridiculous if this car exploded? And then the second later, boom.
Boom!
Yeah.
But in true canon fashion, they show it exploding like 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just make sure you get it from every angle, every camera we have set up, and get this thing.
They might have to use it in another movie.
Yeah.
Kind of like in them trauma movies, where the same car always flips and blows up.
Oh, yeah, they have the same... I don't even remember what movie it originated in.
I think the first one might have been Romeo and Juliet.
Where it just has that same car crash over and over and over.
And like now, I don't care if you're watching the Blu-ray, that scene still looks like shit because it's been used so many times.
Yeah. So we go to probably one of the creepiest scenes of the movie, the swim meet. So... Bronson's there with his wife, and they're watching his daughter read a swim meet. Some weird music plays that doesn't fit at all with the scene.
No.
And Bronson keeps whistling and smiling. Like he does that whistle with your fingers,
And the guy sitting in front of him was like, when I turn around and kill him. We've all been that guy.
He's getting like way, way, way too into it, too. She ends up doing her personal best. They're all proud of her. But then some guy comes up and starts taking pictures of her. And Bronson, he don't like this.
No.
Where's the coach at? Why did he put a robe on her? Cover her up.
Yeah, cover on up here. Come on.
That's like, my wife's like, what are you talking about? She might be cold.
Why the hell doesn't her coach cover up, put a robe or something? She could catch a death of cold.
And this is the part one of the movie when I just couldn't stand it anymore. I was like, he's 67 and his daughter's 15.
Yeah, do the math here.
So he had this girl when he was 52?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So how old is his wife? Because, that clock is a ticking.
I'm sorry?
The wife did look younger.
Yes, yeah, she looked what I'd say late 30s.
Yeah,
maybe 40.
Yeah, maybe 40.
Maybe.
You gotta wonder like how
she
they
would have probably
met.
had her like when she was 30. So,
But there's a more than a 20-year difference between her and Bronson.
Yeah, the
for sure.
gap is visually staggering.
Well, he likes him young.
Yeah, he's a man in power. He's got authority.
Yeah, do you think Bronson maybe found her at that halfway house? Like,
I wouldn't put it past him. Like, comes over, puts like a blanket over her, and kind of like lures her to his car, and like, we're gonna get you nice and warm.
Yeah, like, do you think he picked her up when she was 15?
You coming back to my house?
Oh, it's like one of those coaches that ends up marrying the girl right out of high school.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. God,
I would have loved to see. They're like, so how'd you guys meet? Well, I was on duty.
she was living in a pile of garbage.
She was real young, but I took her in. We sat around for a while, a couple years before she was 18, and then
Sat around.
So here's where I said that Cannon's use of money was not well spent. Is we get a whole scene in an airplane where Hiroshi and his family are sitting in first class, and the plane lands, but there's not one thing that even happens in the scene, or even needs to be in that at all.
No,
not. You see his two daughters like reading something, and he's sitting there with his wife.
I don't even think there's a line of dialogue. But and there's only one shot. But they rented a whole airplane, and there's like 30 extras in that shot. And it was like,
lot.
Today that shot would cost you $200,000-$300,000 just for that shot. I thought it was crazy.
Maybe out there's somewhere like the ultimate cut of Kinjite. It's like 3 hours and 35 minutes.
Where there's this whole scene where he's on the airplane, and then he also maybe sees something like the train event happen on the airplane.
So then you have to have like the subway scene would be longer because he's probably had to make a few stops.
But then we get another pointless scene. Is it shows him in the airport. He lands, and then his family greets these business partners, but they're in LAX. Mm-hmm. And I was like, they rented out this whole fucking terminal for the day to shoot one scene that means nothing to the whole movie.
Means absolutely nothing.
Now, are you sure they rented it? They strike me as them sneaky people that probably have a camera hidden somewhere.
Yeah, there's like the camera's in like a luggage bag, like with the lens popping out.
Pull it out.
Check the mag.
I would think that, but there's like a full crane shot in this scene, like a full crane shot of them coming down the like escalator, walking in. And
what they did was they stacked all those luggage push carts on top of each other and put the camera in top and just kind of wheel it around, and there's her shot.
But this is crazy.
Yeah,
there is no way, unless this scene was supposed to be longer or more involved, that it would ever be greenlit in something today. This is a complete waste of money.
It's horse shit.
He probably sees a girl getting like fingered going down the escalator or something like that. There's like a whole bunch more.
Yeah, there's got to be like more of this reinforcing him as a real creep thing.
Yeah. They gave him the flat top hair, the constant cigarette smoking, and the evil Japanese glasses like all the gangsters have. But,
he's like straight out of like a Japanese businessman cartoon, like a caricature of it.
Yeah.
So we go back to his home. I guess their apartment now that they're housed in. He's drinking tea at the table with his daughters. They say something about how they want to go to American school instead of some private school. Another pointless scene, really, because they just leave and Hiroshi says, I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
But his wife, for some reason, looks really upset. And
she just like sits down at the table and is like, and it just stays on her for like a good 30 seconds.
And that's why I say maybe you're right, is that there was other scenes that they cut out or something, because why was she upset?
Probably went and looked for his new stash of porn, figure out where he hid it in his house.
She found a rubber tentacle under the bed.
What we didn't see in the airport, the Japanese airport, was he got stopped at security and they went through his luggage and they're like, I've never seen so many pornos in our lives. You really need all this?
Well, they got all those freaky porn in Japan. You think you've been sad to leave? Probably had like his boss. You mail me that package every month. They don't show Great Man of Edo here in America.
It's all the tentacle stuff and all that. So we go to the streets of LA at night and we see two kids, a guy and a girl. They're walking down the street. Duke pulls alongside them and rolls down his window. Him and his partner think they're just off the bus, hungry, tired, and alone. And you're right. Like earlier when they go to the arena football, this is what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Looking at people just coming from the bus station.
Yeah.
But even that was kind of pointless. The way he's like following them because he loses sight of them within like 10 seconds and they serve no purpose.
Yeah, well, because he pulls up and so the kids look longingly into a burger restaurant. Like they're like, oh, if only we had $1.
Yeah. Like a real Oliver Twist moment.
But we see who's in that burger place. Bronson.
Mm-hmm.
Bronson and his partner. And then Duke decides, we'll just end it now. Pulls out an Uzi.
Uzi. And it's unloads like indiscriminately into this fucking restaurant.
Like, nobody has any regard for the law at all.
Just
criminals, cops, anybody.
The wanton destruction with his tiny little gun.
So not only does he try and shoot Bronson, he kills, I would say, almost everybody in that restaurant. Because we're just
except
seeing
Bronson.
Yeah, except him and his partner. As we're seeing all these people get shot. And after Duke's car pulls away, Bronson's like going and looking at like the server, and he's all on the ground and his blood-stained shirt and everything. So Duke just went and committed like mass murder.
I just like how you said the two people are just staring inside this like shit hamburger joint. They're not looking in like a fancy restaurant with these people eating steak or anything. They're like some fucking dive looking at these people eating hamburger baskets.
Yeah, they literally spent their last $1, I guess, to get on the bus.
Yeah.
Oh, if we only had one more. So we go to the chief's office. He's mad at them, of course. Wants to know why someone out there is gunning for them. And nobody, by the way, goes, well, now we could maybe get Duke for murdering 12 people in cold blood or something. Let's still put the child stuff on him.
Yeah.
Well, because obviously the guy, his worthless partner, they knew it was him. The partner must have saw the plates.
Yeah, because he was on the ground shooting back, and he ran outside and saw the car drive away.
Yeah.
And they know what car Duke rides around in.
Yeah, like call off the boys. We need to wait for him to do something worse.
I guess technically it would have been a new car. Well, man, the old one got blown up.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So maybe they didn't know.
Good call. Good
But
call.
Charles, this was my favorite scene, and it's like, who would have it in for you? Well, this guy named Duke. Why? Well, I blew up his car. What? Well, then I made him eat his watch.
I know. I couldn't believe he confessed the whole thing.
Why is May 23rd so ingrained in that fine mind of yours, son?
Well, it was May 23rd I set his Cadillac on fire. And on May the 23rd, I made him swallow a big gold watch. A president that has a diamond face. I think they sell for $25,000.
What are you, completely crazy?
And then
his part, and the chief is like, if you were into me for $50,000, I'd kill you too.
Can we agree that the Chief in any of these movies so far has like been our favorite character?
Oh, the Chief's great.
At any movie we've done, the Chief, hands down. Dangerous Men.
And the Chief will say something in this movie later that I was just like, whoa. The next time we go back to this police station, it's insane what he says. But I wondered at this point in my notes, do you think, because the Chief asked him what he did and he just fully confessed, do you think Bronson confessed about raping that man the other day?
No.
He maybe over drinks or something he might have told him.
Do you think they're like, guys, we got a call to this hotel room and they found this guy with a dildo up him, and
the maid didn't know what to do.
The guy at the front desk says there was a guy who looked a lot like you that came in that night. Do you guys know anything about that?
Them Indians think we all look alike, so
Oh, that scene is coming up.
So we go to a restaurant. Hiroshi's sitting at a table with his new business partner, and this is when he realizes that America's not the same as Japan, because he's putting his hand right down the waitress's shirt.
Yeah.
And they actually say, and I wrote, he's a real great guy, this Hiroshi. And the people at the table are like, no, you can't do that here. What are you doing? You can't just like start grabbing a woman's breast in the middle of public. They're like, they're not at a strip club or something. This is like a restaurant. This is like a steakhouse.
Yeah. This is like the waitress. This is like, oh boy, you better be tipping big.
Yeah, they're sitting at it's like they're at a Ruth Chris and the waitress sits down. He's like, come on over here, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So where are you staying tonight?
But if you look, she didn't seem to mind.
Oh, no, hands up.
Oh. Hara-san, you must learn rule. Touching hostess breast definitely not permitted in Los Angeles, man.
Not permitted? Oh, how sad. Why not?
City regulation.
Oh, I think there are too many regulations in America. It makes for good balance.
Yeah, like at first she does a little bit. She's like, all right. Keep your hands to yourself. And then he just keeps persisting, and it's like she almost gives up at some point. Like, well,
better leave me a big tip.
Yeah.
Patient bastard.
Yeah.
So we go to the bus. Probably one of the most uncomfortable scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
Rita and her friend are on the bus, and I wrote, though, at this point, nobody rides the bus in LA, even especially in the 80s.
And at night.
Yeah. It was weird to me that people were hanging out in East LA in the 80s in this movie, like in the daytime, like it was no big deal.
Yeah.
And like, oh, there's all these families that live around there. No. Like they were going to, like the girls go to some school in Echo Park, which I was like, well, when I was a kid, you know, you wouldn't really go there too much. It's not like the best part of town. And you certainly wouldn't be riding a bus by yourself through there.
She was with the whole school.
Yeah. So did we ever find out what they were, like what they were doing?
The only thing I could guess, maybe they're coming from a swim meet or something.
Yeah, because it's like the whole class is on this. Yeah, it's like a field trip.
Yeah,
It had to have been the meet.
They're on a public bus, which is even weirder.
Was it the
because
meet?
what
that's
school
true.
takes
They
a
would have been
public?
on a private school bus.
Yeah, but she is there with their whole class because
Yeah.
the teacher's there too. And Rita and her friend are standing up, and Hiroshi's sitting next to him, and he's all drunk, and he wakes up to see her standing above him. And there's that really creepy scene where they start singing some song.
I said party. Don't let your mama know. Party.
Yeah.
And Hiroshi's just sitting there like staring at him the whole time.
Stares at her cross necklace, which we have to call back to later.
Yeah. And then he thinks back and he flashes back to that girl he saw in the train and how much she enjoyed being fondled by a stranger.
God damn.
So he decides to fondle Rita.
Yeah.
And she screams. He runs off the bus and into the streets. This is probably one of the best lines in the movie coming up. Is Rita and her friends file off the bus. Her friend goes, "What happened, Rita?" And she goes, "Some Oriental guy touched my holy of holies."
What happened, Rita? Some Oriental guy touched my holy of holies. Holy shit.
Was it one of these shitheads?
And then you gotta love the random dude that like gets off the bus and he grabs just some random Asian.
Yeah, like the most convenient looking Asians they can find. Just grabs them. Which one of these guys was it?
So about that line she says, I was like, okay, is that supposed to be a joke? Because she says holy of holies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it supposed to be funny?
I don't think so.
Like,
I think
who
it's
would
just
write
like
that being like, this is really going to hit hard and people are going to really feel bad about this.
Well,
part.
I think it's like, this is what a teenager would probably say, like in their own shocked slang.
But yeah, this is what. So the teacher comes out and her friend goes, "Someone touched her." Teacher says, "Who?" And Rita goes, "Some Oriental guy." And that's, when the random guy in a jean jacket comes up and he goes, "Was it one of these shitheads?" and grabs the two closest Asian guys.
And he starts beating them up too.
Yeah,
they
like,
start
not
just
only
brawling.
beating up, like the whole bus starts getting in a brawl. Like random people just start punching each other. And everything.
Like if just a fight breaks out for no reason whatsoever.
But what was truly sad, and especially a canon movie, why did we not get, especially with all the Asian people there, why did we not get a kung fu scene?
Yeah,
Oh my God, you're right.
If one of them knew kung fu, that would have
It's
been
like
great.
if this was in if you can do it in Lost Faith, why is it missing from this movie?
Well, it's because Bronson, like this director, he goes fast, loose.
and
No
loose.
time for choreographing. Just throw a guy through a brick, through a closet.
How about I just sit in this chair and he hits me and I hit him back and I just beat him up. A real Seagal. That is kind of a Seagal thing that Bronson likes in this.
Yeah, it's a real Seagal type fight scene where it's just like, I'll just throw a guy through something.
Yeah.
Say a one-liner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Hiroshi walks away from the bus, but we won't let him get away unscathed because some random guy comes up and robs him. And then the cops show up, but they don't catch anything. And then Hiroshi's just mugged and left on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, the cops are all driving by this guy getting full Nelson beat down and mugged.
Yeah.
So one of them had to have noticed. It's not like the mugger like pulled him back in the darkness. No, he's like doing it right under a street light.
The cash, the plastic, and the Seiko. Now.
Yeah, like maybe they thought he was going to step into traffic, like he's saving him from walking in traffic because he's Japanese. Oh, he must be not from this country.
Oh, he doesn't get it.
Yeah, he doesn't get it.
Probably trying to walk in front of the cars. All right, so we go to the police station. Rita and her friend. This is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. Is we're at the police station and Rita and her friend are giving a description of the guy. Mm-hmm. The lady cop who's taking down their description says, Rita, I know it's difficult, but do you have some way of knowing whether he was Chinese, Japanese, or Korean? And she responds with, in a true Bronson's daughter fashion, how can you tell? All I know is how can you tell? All I know is he's not really old. He looks like, and then she looks over at this Asian cop and he goes, like me? Why not? All Asians share a superficial likeness.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I would have had her be telling like the guy that's drawing the pictures, and then he draws like the picture of the guy that on Shitty Walk on South Park. And like, is this him? Like, it's like eyes like completely slanted.
Yeah, it's like a rice hat on, like buck teeth.
Yeah. I would have liked it if she gave a description and the cop holds it up and it just looks like the Asian cop.
That would have been great.
But I wrote, so even the Asian character in this movie, who you would think would call her out on her racism, says something almost as racist by saying, well, we do all look alike.
All Asians share a superficial likeness.
It's like, Jesus. The Asian cop comes over. He goes, well, was he a working man, a businessman? How was he dressed? She says he looked like a banker, and she mentions the only thing that we'll get as a clue is the button that he wears on his lapel. And the Japanese cop, or the Asian cop, says he's probably a Japanese businessman because their companies make him wear buttons. And the lady cop asks how many Japanese businessmen are in the city. And I love this line is the Asian cop says, according to the LA Times, about 25,000.
Like he just happened to know that fact out the top of his head. Like what?
It's funny you say that. I just read an article.
And Brandon Lee must have hated this movie when he was a kid because in Rapid Fire, when he's being interrogated, he like draws the guy himself.
So we go to Hiroshi's bedroom. His wife tends to his wounds, but there aren't any wounds, really. No. He doesn't look hurt or scuffed up at all. They make out, and I said, I guess have sex? Because she
this scene is so weird.
Yeah, she gets on top of him, and they just hold hands. And then she says something about how this was the first time after years.
Jesus, well, I guess that's all it took.
Like, she wasn't suspicious at all. Like, it's been a couple of years, I mean.
Especially after she found his dirty comic books.
Well, maybe she got rid of them when they moved to America.
Yeah,
because he says something like, oh, we're in a new country, so I'm a little scared. Okay, then we go to, this is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. Lots of cars outside the LA Hilton. With a bunch of Japanese people. But guys, how do we know that they're Japanese people?
Because they're all parked on the sidewalks and shit. No one can drive.
And every woman is wearing a kimono.
Yeah.
Because they apparently just come to America and they're just like, I got to pack all my kimonos. Don't wear any regular clothes like people even in Japan do. We all walk around in our kimonos all the time.
I'm not going to lie to you. I have 4 kimonos and they are very comfortable. Granted, I don't go to meetings or go out in public. And I wear them around my house, but they're a very comfortable piece of attire.
I mean, have you worn a Kyurogiri? Those are awesome. It's like a big old...
I did have a gi once because I took a college class in Aikido. That's the only time I ever had some. I thought it was funny because I could just imagine the crew being like, well, how are they going to know they're Asian?
Just have them park the cars in weird areas and just like not know what they're doing and
have all the
they don't know how to drive. They just have his car go up the air.
And they're all wearing kimonos,
I think I'm going to wear mine to work tomorrow.
Have one of the ladies have one of those fans,
Or like one of them will have like a parasol at
they
night.
should have went all out if they're going to do that.
One of them's like rolling
pure white, like a geisha bamboo sticks.
Like a kabuki show's going on.
If one of them was painted like a kabuki, that would have been amazing.
Then you could have had like the security bed ninjas and everything.
Oh my god! If they're security guards, they're personal security guards are dressed as ninjas. Oh man! So we go to a car with Bronson, and we know by now if he's in the car only bad things follow.
He's like he's almost gonna. This is where he's gonna announce his candidacy for president. Maybe so he's ready.
I don't know. This is the most racist scene in the movie, and quite possibly the most racist scene in any movie.
Yeah.
What's about to happen is Bronson's in the car with his partner, and he says something about his partner says something about the guy grabbing Rita on the bus. He goes, "Nothing happened, and you're behaving like she was raped or something." And Bronson says,
Some sleazy Oriental gropes my daughter and you say nothing happened? My daughter? Geez, baby, you don't realize what's going on in this country, but you take the Japanese, for instance. They're buying hotels, office buildings, golf courses. They're taking over. You and me were busting our ass, and then we suck hind tit.
"What the hell's going on here?" As they pull up to the Hilton.
What the hell's going on up here? You see what I mean? Taking over. Look at that.
He jumps out of the car and he walks up to all these people, not doing anything, by the way. They're all just
they're just
going
minding
to
their
the
business.
hotel.
Yeah,
minding their
checking in, checking out. They're not harming anybody.
He walks up to this guy in a limo. He bangs on the trunk.
Move this car. What the hell do you think this is, a parking lot? You are double parked, you understand? I'm going to throw your ass in jail if you don't move this car now. What the hell are you looking at? You people behave like you own this town. Well, this is not Tokyo, this is Los Angeles. You over there, you're obstructing the sidewalk, and your goddamn cars, you're obstructing the thoroughfare. And you're fucking obstructing me.
I apologize. He's not feeling too well.
This is not Tokyo. This is Los Angeles. He goes, "And you're fucking obstructing me." And this is the part, Chris, I think you're right, is like, do you think they wrote this with the intention of like the audience would be like up clapping in their seats?
This was one of those like, let's go get him kind of moments.
Yeah, you tell him, Charles.
Yeah.
You tell him, boyo.
Like all it's missing, like the writer's like, well, you know what would really sell the scene is if a rickshaw rolled by and he kicked it. Is it?
You know, Chris and I were joking about this movie last night, and I was saying after this scene, he should have just yelled, "2 bombs weren't enough." Like that's where I felt it was headed.
Yeah.
People were probably leaving the theaters with like sticks and stuff, going to beat up random Asians they saw on the street. They were all fired up.
Why don't you all dig a hole and climb yourselves back home or something like that?
Like maybe I don't get it because I was a young kid in 1989.
Yeah.
And I see now how people are with Chinese people that have come into the country and bought a lot of property and stuff like this. But I didn't know that in 1989 there was this like intense hatred of Japan.
Nor I.
You know, or me either. I always liked Godzilla though, so I mean, I was always cool. But
I love Japanese music. Poly 6.
yes, I never. But like my grandfather was in like World War II and everything, and he would always get mad. Why are you watching this goddamn Jap shit and all that? So I mean,
Jesus.
Ironically, he was a Charles Bronson fan.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So this was definitely for that demographic. So his partner walks up and he takes him away. He goes, "I apologize. He's not feeling too well." And then the Japanese people bow at him.
Yeah, they're all
I
respectful.
was like, what the hell is going on? And I wrote, I can't tell if this scene is supposed to demonstrate how shitty of a person Bronson's character is, or if it's sympathetic.
I was gonna say, I really think you're supposed to feel sympathy for him.
It's such a blurred line.
Yeah,
it's so ambiguous.
Because he says these things and he does such bad things in this movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we're supposed to sympathize with him.
Which makes you wonder,
I really think you were supposed to. I think the logic was, well, if that Jap molested his daughter, any of these other Japs could touch yours, you know. So I really think that's the thinking.
I mean, you have to, like, what does this say about Mr. Bronson's character? That if he took a script like this, oh yeah, I'm gonna make him fucking red blooded in the seats. You know what I mean? Like
he's like, he reads it, he goes, "Oh, finally." Well, give him one back.
What they needed to do was, like, at the end of Marked for Death with Steven Seagal, there's actually like a thing before the credits. It's like, please note, all Jamaicans are not evil or something like that. It actually says that if you go watch it. They probably should have done that here. Please note, all Japanese businessmen are not pedophilia rapists.
I almost feel like they would be like, please note, they are like this. So we go back to that halfway house, and Bronson's meeting with the priest again.
But see, I'm sorry, but see, that's where they fucked up. The next scene should have been him in the captain's office. You know, we got a report about some guys that look like you yelling at a bunch of Orientals. Where were you last night at 10 o'clock?
Well, they were double parked, so you don't understand, Chief. They were double parked.
It's a busy intersection. It's a Friday night.
It's the Hilton. So we go to the orphanage instead, where Bronson apparently meets with this priest and discusses. He's also his therapist because he comes in and he says something about how he feels all this rage since Rita was molested. And I wrote, I think it started well before that. Like, I don't think that was the inciting incident. But I started to wonder, do you think that bus incident was maybe supposed to originally take place earlier in the movie?
To plant that seed?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it makes him just unreasonably...
Because he already
vile.
has a problem with everybody.
Yeah.
And then his daughter gets touched and he seems to have just the same amount of problems.
It doesn't set him off. It's just like the same...
It just justifies it to him.
Yeah.
He's like, see, I knew I was right about all them.
To him, it seals the deal.
So we go from his therapy session to a classroom. Hiroshi's daughter's in school. And I thought this was weird because they're in school. They speak Japanese, right?
Yeah.
And then they're also learning, I would assume they know how to already write Japanese,
yeah,
right?
It's like a calligraphy class.
Apparently they don't know the English way to write Japanese.
So they're doing calligraphy with paintbrushes. And I was like, well, how old are they? And why would this be a subject for students coming to America to, I guess, be taught how to assimilate to American culture?
Yeah.
Like, well, in case you can't get a job, you could go down to the park and people will pay you to
write their family name.
Write their name.
A lot of people get Asian tattoos. So you need to know how to make the words.
They should have just stuck like one of those tattoo needles in all of their hands and said, all right, this is how it works. This is how you write the word water.
So we go from the classroom to a park, one of the nicest, cleanest parks I've ever seen in East LA, for sure. And they walk around this park, and we see a POV from Duke's window as he watches Hiroshi's daughters, and he follows them. She picks up a flower, and she starts to smell it. Well, of course, Asian music starts playing. I was like, they just need to underline this one more time.
Yeah. Because you almost forget you're in Los Angeles. I feel like, are we back in Japan? Like, what's going on?
Well, that's what it's like. I feel like...
You gotta give him credit. At least it was... I mean, I thought the score in this movie was awful, but at least it was original, where 10 to Midnight was all the music from Revenge of the Ninja, just used in different spots.
Just replayed.
Yeah.
Nobody will know. I
Because
feel
I'm
like...
sitting there, when we're watching 10 to Midnight, I was like, God, this score's great. And after a few minutes, I was like, oh, wait, it's the Revenge of the Ninja score.
See, they thought it was great, so they're like, just reuse it.
Yeah.
Everybody loved it originally.
Yeah, just fly it into this one.
I feel like in this one, they're editing and they're like, well, I don't know. How do we know that girl's Asian? I don't know. Put in some of that music. That music we played at the Hilton. You know? Just to reinforce it.
Yeah, when every time she comes on screen, we'll have a big gong go off. Are you sure that's Japanese, boss? You know what? It's Asian. Just put a big gong in there.
So she's sniffing this flower, and then Duke goes, hey, come into the car and show me where your school is. And the girl just immediately goes, okay. Just gets into the limo. And then it pulls off, and we just see a shot of that flower.
Yeah.
What symbolism?
The dumbest girl I've ever seen in my life.
You would think.
I got a meeting with your head mistress, but I don't know where to go. Can you get in the car and show me?
Yeah, sure.
I'm new in town too.
So he drives her back to his house. He's like, I just gotta go get something out of my room.
He goes, I just forgot some papers.
And he's holding her hand the whole time.
Yeah, that was odd. He walks with he's holding her hand while he leads her into his house, which is the next scene.
Yeah.
They go into his place and there's a bunch of people just doing drugs. She doesn't seem suspicious at all at this point. And he's like, how do you like my place, huh? Looks pretty nice.
Yeah, why am I here?
She doesn't even get to that point yet. She's just oh, sure, I'll go along with it. He goes to his room, we shut the door, and we cut. It's the chief's office. Oh, in this scene. So he tells Bronson that there's a Japanese private school in Echo Park that has a missing female juvenile. Then they just throw in a little bit of the old racism when the chief goes, could be nothing, you know? Or he goes, could be nothing, but you know, from what I read, these Japanese kids don't play hooky. They go to school 6 days a week, 4 hours of homework, sleep maybe 6 hours a night. Instead of vacations, they enroll in Graham courses. And he's like laughing about this. Like, this is the chief of police.
Yeah.
Like, one of them might be missing, but she's probably off studying.
Missing female juvenile. It could be nothing, but from what I read, you know, these Japanese school kids, they don't play hooky. Now, they go to school 6 days a week, do 4 hours of homework, sleep maybe 6 hours a night. Instead of vacations, they enroll in cram courses. Anyway, get on over there. There could be diplomatic implications.
So the chief tells Bronson, hey, you got to go over there. And then Bronson goes, can you replace me with somebody who is more sympathetic to the Asian community?
At least he was being honest. He was trying not to get into any more racist shit.
Yeah. At least he's like conscious about it.
Maybe that's what the priest said. Is like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe you should just separate yourself from them. You know, if you can't help yourself. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to try that tomorrow with the chief. We'll see how it goes over.
Could you replace me with somebody who's more sympathetic to the Asian community?
Oh, excuse me, it's because of what happened to his daughter.
But his partner comes in. He goes, oh, no. It's all right, chief. It's because of what happened to his daughter. And the chief goes, Rita, what happened? Bronson goes, she was molested on the bus by an Asian. And the chief goes, molested? Look, this is the real world. We don't use euphemisms. Abused, raped, what? And Bronson explains in detail what happened and says she was touched. And the chief starts screaming, and then he says something. I'm wondering if you guys caught this. He goes,
Well, my nephew Stevie was touched by the priest in choir practice. Now, what the hell has that got to do with your work?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's like, that's no big deal, you know?
Well, the thing is, like, I hate how he kept saying she was molested. It's like, the guy just, like, I'm not making light of it, but the guy grabbed her and she screamed. He didn't really molest her.
He definitely touched her.
Yeah.
But yeah, molest. I mean, although
we're getting into slippery slopes here.
Still a crime.
But what I mean, the way Bronson's making it out, it's like he threw her over the chair and
that's
at the beginning of the movie.
Well, you know, he's according to Bronson, this is a quote from him and not me. He's a sleazy Oriental. So
hell yeah.
I was wondering, what do you think the chief told his son when he came home and goes, Dad, the priest touched me at choir practice.
Did you get first chair or not?
Do you think he was like, son, it's nothing. Boys will be boys, you know?
Yeah,
you just got to let it go.
He's like, wait till you get to the locker room in high school.
I was like, I think, you know, the chief, I think, has a little bit more problems than he realizes.
Everyone in this department needs like a sensitivity training class.
So this is one of the more angrier police chiefs out there in films.
You gotta love police chiefs, you know. It's like what we say in our most of our movies with police chiefs. They're always our favorite characters.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So then it goes from him screaming about his son being touched by a priest to the chief starts breaking it down that apparently this has been an ongoing problem with Bronson's character for a while. As he goes, all right, what is it now? You don't want to deal with blacks, Hispanics, Iranians, Asians. All you want to do is Anglo-Saxons, huh? Well, good. You can walk a beat in Glendale.
Glendale.
He should have probably just done that, and then wrote out and got his pension.
Yeah, he should have just been like, yeah, all right, I'll take it.
Yeah. Like direct traffic in Glendale or something.
Or maybe he'd been like, you know, I think it's time you retire. You know, you've been on this force a little too long. We get a lot of complaints about you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if the way he goes around town, you know, grabbing hotel managers by the tie.
Do you know how much money we've spent on your sensitivity training? We usually spend an entire department in a year. Spent twice that.
You can't go shaking down every minority you see. Because if you think about it, the pimp was like, what, Cuban or Puerto Rican?
Yeah, everybody. He's got a problem with anybody who's not white.
Yeah, and the guy's, the pimp's muscle there was a black dude. Yeah, this guy has a lot of issues.
I guess it must be for that demographic.
Yeah.
He's only happy when somebody's getting raped. Like, if you at least watch the Death Wish movies, like when someone gets raped, then he at least has a sense of purpose in life.
And is he smiling all the way through all the Death Wish movies?
Well, in part 2, he does smile a lot.
It's also, if you've never seen a Bronson smile, it's pretty awkward.
Yeah.
And one of the next scenes is very awkward when he's smiling. He's got like a little bit of teeth, but it looks very forced whenever you see him doing that smile.
It's like a grimace of torture. like there's car battery terminals being hooked up to his nipple.
It's like the prototype for the Arnold Schwarzenegger smile in Terminator Genesis.
Exactly.
So we go from the police station to Duke's place. He comes out of the bedroom, puts on his belt, think we know what went on in there, but then he motions to his partner and goes in on the room. Cut. We just got to see every guy going in there taking a turn.
I was just waiting for like the girl's going to go in there next and just, everyone in the room is just going to... As
racist as the film was, Duke should have been like, all right, now we got to see how she takes it with her brother. Get on in there.
So we go back to the school, the Asian school at Echo Park. Hiroshi's there with Bronson and his partner, and they're with the principal. And they ask him about his daughter. Bronson starts getting all mad and racist again as he describes them, because Hiroshi starts saying because Bronson's like, or his partner goes something about, well, does she have a boyfriend or a guy or anything? And Hiroshi says something like, oh, well, you don't understand. Like, she doesn't have a boyfriend or anything. And Bronson's like, how do you know? What do you mean? What do you mean she's so different, huh?
Because we're Oriental.
Yeah, because they're like, no, you don't understand. We're Japanese. That's not how it works. And then the principal goes, yeah, you don't understand, and backs all this up. It's like, okay.
Charles Bronson should have been the lead in Fight for Your Life. I'm sorry, but he really should have. If you've never seen that movie, you need to. But yeah, he should have been the lead in that film.
We have that on our list to do real soon.
Yeah,
I got the
movie.
DVD of that one.
Yeah,
it's a great film.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really looking forward to that one.
It's good. It's a lot of fun. I always thought it should have been recast with Hulk Hogan, and I said that years before his racist scandal.
So we go to Duke's. His partner's finished. He motions for the next guy to come in. Scene over. We go to Hiroshi's house. He's crying at the table. Bronson says something like he'll pass his daughter's picture around. He gets all upset and he leaves. Then we're in the car in maybe the second most or the most racist scene in movie history. We know how the cars just bring out that inner Bronson. He goes into another monologue and he says,
boy, am I glad we're out of there. I don't know how to deal with that sobbing. Tears and all. I thought these guys had balls of iron. Give your life for the emperor, committing harikari, that kind of thing. Now, don't make me out to be insensitive.
Because oh no, because I can imagine being a father of a teenager. I can imagine how that guy must feel.
You gotta wonder if, when you go to a Klan meeting or something, if there's a picture of Bronson
and they use the line, "Don't make me out to be insensitive."
Yeah.
So then it basically, and his partner, by the way, never confirms any of this stuff. He just kind of sits there and he's just like, "Yeah, that's great, man." So
he's afraid to lodge a complaint in fear of retaliation from this man.
Oh yeah.
Because he's seen what happened with that dildo. That's going to be him next. If anything gets to the chief.
He might find out I'm part Jewish and really turn on him.
He's hiding his Star of David necklace under his shirt.
So Bronson,
Brandon Fraser in School Ties and shit.
So Bronson says they need to find the girl, even if they have to operate outside the system. And his partner goes, he's not on board. He's like, no. I want my pension. I'm not going to do that. But it's you're already a part of it.
Yeah.
You've been operating.
He was right there when he took the witness out of the room when Bronson was raping the guy with the dildo.
Yeah, he's been an accomplice to everything. We go back to Duke's house. Someone's brushing Hiroshi's daughter's hair. He has a hairdresser, and then he unveils her and he goes, voila! And everybody claps.
She's open for business.
That's what he says. Yeah, Duke goes, she's open for business.
Voila! You're open for business.
We go to the streets.
But the girl doesn't look traumatized or scared or worried.
No,
she just looks.
She's been broken. She's been psychologically damaged in every sense, and she's just a shell of a person she is. And
it only took him an hour.
Yeah, just in the matter of one interrogation, it's all over. So Duke's, he's trying to sell her now on the streets. That's when she finally goes. She goes, "When can I go home? You said I could go home." He's like, no. Be nice to this guy here, and then we'll talk about it later. And he puts
This guy's friends with your mom and dad. He'll take care of you.
Yeah, he puts her in the car, and this old white guy's in there, and he starts putting on the school act. He's like, "I've been talking to your headmistress, and she's very upset with your work." And I'm like, I think you can drop the act, guy.
No,
like
headmistress. The headmaster ritual is in effect.
So he tells the driver to take them away. We go to the car. Bronson gets a call that they spotted the girl at a hotel. So we go to this hotel, and apparently they're doing some sort of like porno shoot with this really happy music going on and like strobe lights and all these things.
Usually you add the music when you film anything in post. Why is it being played live? Is that just to
That's
get them
the
going?
best part about this scene is that they're filming this, and there's a record player in the corner of the room that's playing the music. And how do we know this? Well, because Bronson barges in and smashes his gun onto the record.
He didn't like that music.
And they get in this fight scene where Bronson takes on a bunch of guys in their late 20s, early 30s with these big guys, by the way, like full steroid up dudes. He just takes them down, no problem. Throwing everybody through something. Everybody's got to fly through something. Like if he beats a guy up, he's got to go through a shelf.
Glass table.
I like that part when one of the henchmen comes in and he like knocks over one of the film lights and then goes, "Ah!" And then Bronson just like kicks him into that glass shelf.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta like if it's like a punch, like it'll be the exact same scene just from a different camera angle, but they'll show it like 4 times. Like he just gave him a flurry in succession. They're repeated.
He's like, "I'm only gonna do this once." So they found this woman, and I thought it was really odd because it's not the girl, okay?
Yeah.
But they keep showing her naked, like laying down, and I'm like, if this really is supposed to be the girl, why are you? Because when Bronson walks over, they pan up from her butt to him, and I'm like, that's really odd. That if it's supposed to be the girl, they're putting in a shot that's supposed to be like tittillating.
Exactly.
Like, why would you do that?
It's horrible.
It's like, this is supposed to be like some 12-year-old girl, and you're like, yeah, take a look at that. It's like,
but it's okay. It's okay when you get the payoff. Then it's not so bad. You can go back and watch it again and enjoy it.
Yeah, but it's very unsettling.
Yeah, for the first time, yeah. Then the second time, the audience is like, I know what's going on here. Yeah.
So then I wondered. I said, did Bronson just barge in on a legal shoot?
Well, that's just what did he interrupt this time?
Yeah. Like, this is definitely going to put him back in the chief's office because.
I mean, granted, they had drugs there, but it was a nice place if they were renting it out.
Yeah, I mean, other than the cocaine possession, it looked like what they were doing was on the up and up.
Yeah, they're not getting their deposit back.
But you gotta yeah, we gotta report that Asian girl's down there because see, they all look alike. Even though this one's like 20 years older.
Yeah, because the girl he does find is way older.
Yeah,
and she's with the film crew,
and she never moves from her face being down.
Yeah, and
through
so
the whole fight scene, she just lays face.
Like, what is she doing?
And then when he lifts her head up, she goes, like smiles.
What would have been great is like during the fight, like some guy like face planted into her ass or something like that.
That would have been nice.
So we go back to Hiroshi's house in a really pointless scene as the mom just starts crying because she sees her daughter on TV.
Yeah,
nothing really important. Go to outside of a porno theater. And do you remember this? This guy is standing outside this porno theater trying to get people in.
And I kind of thought with the quality of the film, he looked like Charles Bronson almost.
He thought so.
He kind of did.
He got fired after that whole porno shoot debacle.
Now he's working the street trying to get people into the porno theater.
Well, I wrote down one of the quotes. He says, "Come on in, bring the young lady, and you won't have to use your hand tonight."
Yeah.
Come on inside. Put stuff in here. Manuel 4. Bait and switch. Bring the young lady in, and you won't have to use your hand tonight.
But then Hiroshi and some business partner of his walk up, and the guy comes up to him, and he starts going real racist.
Come on inside. No fucking sucky like this in Tokyo. It's so young stuff. 12, 9, 13. Real too. Oh, you love
Hiroshi goes nuts and starts beating this guy up. And I wrote, why the hell would he advertise this on the street?
Yeah, that's horrible.
Like, what are you doing?
Kitty pornography.
Yeah, some guy shelling this out in
I
the
got
middle of
Tracy
it.
Lawrence playing in all three of the videos here.
12-year-olds here. Get your 12-year-olds here.
It's like, Jesus. So we go back to Duke. He's in the limo with the girl. Classical music plays, which I thought was a nice touch. She's back on the job, but he just drops her off at some woman's house.
Yeah.
And she's just asking her about coming to America. And I was just like, well, what the hell is this? Like, we're just left with her hanging out with this lady.
Maybe the lady was going to do something to her.
I know, but it was just like so odd.
Yeah, it's
What a
almost like they felt
pointless-
like they needed to offload her so that these characters can have another scene that's going to also go nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's another missing scene.
Runtime.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I'm telling you, it's like Superman, Batman. There's like some uncut 3-hour print out there.
Yeah.
So we go to the halfway house, and Dee Dee, the girl from the very beginning of the movie, is there. And at first I didn't realize who this was because it's been a good hour, 10 minutes since we've seen her.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden she's back and we're supposed to know her name because Bronson just walks in. He's like, all right, Dee Dee. He wants to know something. He's asking her questions about Duke. And she says something about how she'd rather be with him. And you don't get it, that he's a really great guy.
Mm-hmm.
He took her to Jamaica.
Yeah.
It was like
Jamaica
married.
line,
He just
Jesus.
sometimes rented me out to get sodomized by other men.
Yeah, she says, you don't understand. It was like we were married. And then Bronson doesn't know where to go with this scene.
No.
He's like kind of looking at her like, well, I mean, he was a bad guy, right? Like, even after all of this. And I wrote, well, where is this scene supposed to be going?
Yeah.
Like, this is so odd because the whole movie is supposed to be like, you know, obviously it's bad, but then they throw in this scene where it's like, oh, no, you don't understand. It was great. I wish I could go back to it.
What they're doing is by his racism and finding out the pimp takes you to Jamaica, you're starting to be more sympathetic to Duke. At least I was at this point anyway.
Well, I mean, in Duke's defense, Bronson's never seen him actually break a law.
No.
Other than like murdering all those people, but he
Yeah,
never
that was
saw
about
that
it.
part.
Well, Duke was a racist. Like, you know, he got the girl nice. He got her hair done. He didn't like dress her up like a geisha.
If he had shopped her around like a geisha, this movie would have definitely have crossed the line.
If he was shopping around like a geisha, I'd have been petitioning for a T-shirt to be made of this film at this point.
It would have been on the cover. I could see that.
Oh, yeah. And she's got like a marionette attached to her because she's like, you know, the puppet of the movie.
So the only thing is Bronson keeps trying to get something out of her, and then Dee Dee eventually says, well, Duke's a great dresser, and even if he's gone underground, he'll definitely go to Rosario's to get his pants done because he just can't help it. So Bronson we cut back to him, and he's got this really, really, really creepy smile going on, and then he just leaves. Later, we cut to the halfway house, and Dee Dee's in bed. She gets out of bed, and she calls Rosario's, which I thought was weird. Why wouldn't she just call Duke?
Yeah.
Maybe he changed his number. He moved around a lot.
Yeah, is this
Maybe,
like
yeah.
the new hideout or something? Like,
Because you just hear, she goes, hello, Mr. Rosario?
yeah.
Cut to Rosario's, and I wrote, I guess Duke's going out for some late night pants shopping.
Yeah.
Can't help himself. Bronson's staking it out, of course. Duke walks in, but then he leaves. And then Bronson follows him. We go back to Duke's house. He pulls in the driveway. Bronson and his partner miss the gate. So they go up to the front, and they're asking the security guard. Bronson's like, have you seen a 14-year-old Asian girl? And the guy goes, well, who? I mean... And Bronson can't take it anymore. He picks up a statue and he just chucks it through the mirror, through the window. Listen, shitface, we're not fucking around. And he's like, all right, the apartment you want is 906.
He's like the worst cop in history.
Oh, yeah, breaking laws left and right.
Well, he's dumb because the cop is sitting right by like all these video monitors. He could have just moved the guy out of the way it looked.
He's going to be in another one of these chief's office meetings.
Yeah.
You know, wait, you're costing the force a lot of money. So the security guard tells him what the apartment is, but then when they leave, he calls up to Duke and lets him know he's coming. So Duke starts packing up all the money. They're trying to get everything out of there. And his partner says, oh, I'll get the girl. You guys go ahead and leave. So everybody leaves except his partner. Duke runs out of that hallway right before Bronson comes in. Bronson and his partner, they bust into the room and they arrest Duke's associate, cuff him on the ground.
But what was the charge?
Nothing.
Thank you.
At this point, nothing.
Yeah.
The guy's in an empty room.
And so they cuff him, and this guy his partner pulls out a paper from his pocket. He goes, look at this. The guy likes Mexican food. It's an address.
Good to know.
And for Long Beach. And he's like, hey, you must like Mexican. It's like, okay. Maybe it couldn't be a clue at all. It's an address.
Great plot point.
What are the charges? What are the Charles? And Bronson, yo, black.
But he goes, finally they go, oh, well, where's the girl? I'm not going to tell you. And they go, oh, you'll tell us. And he takes the guy and he puts him over the railing of the balcony.
Yes. Love this.
Yeah, and if it's like it couldn't get any worse, they've arrested a man just because he's black.
Yeah.
They don't know his connection with Duke at all because actually Bronson's never even seen this guy with Duke ever. So they hang him over the balcony.
You guys are bullshit, man. Please don't throw people over backwards. Get Jesus, take me back. No, Jesus, take
But they don't get any information out of him because they end up just dropping him and he dies.
Like his shoes come off.
Yeah, they're left with his shoes.
I was like, what do we do with the boots?
At first I thought it would be some wacky like Lethal Weapon thing because he hits the pool and I'm like, oh, that'll explain it. And then all the pool turns to blood. And I was like,
that was great.
But yet his partner don't want to break no rules.
Yeah, and then I just wrote, Bronson is a terrible, terrible, terrible detective. He's now killed a man who has not committed any crime necessarily.
And he has
they just leave him.
Zero leads.
Yeah, and the guy had no weapon on him, by the way. But they just throw him off a balcony. And somehow he keeps his job after all this.
Now, did they just leave him there in that pool? Just like kind of.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Because the next thing is just the girl comes out of the room and she says, like, I'm sorry for causing you so much trouble.
Yeah.
Which was odd. So then we go to Bronson's home, and Hiroshi and his wife show up in a cab with a present. And Rita runs to tell in her parents that somebody's here. And the way she says it is, we have guests from the not so mysterious Orient. I was like, what the hell is going on? Bronson answers the door, he invites them in. Rita then immediately realizes that this is the guy who touched her on the bus.
Yeah.
Will she say anything?
No. And I read somewhere that this is made apparent in the sequel, though. That's when Bronson finds out.
There's a sequel to
That's
this?
what I read.
Sequel?
That's what I read. But I think they meant that facetiously.
Yeah, I think that was a joke.
Yeah, it had to have been. So I'm like, I started looking for it.
That she didn't say anything.
I know.
That would because then that whole part of the story was pretty much worthless because he was racist before it happened.
Yeah, because he does this whole thing where you would think, okay, so the guy's going to get his comeuppance because he touched his daughter. And it is like, okay, well, it's going to justify Bronson's hatred. But no, we never find out that he was the guy. She doesn't tell anybody. She doesn't tell her parents. Nothing happens.
I think we're supposed to be satisfied with him living with the guilt. And that's it.
Well, I just took it that she was like a whore that could be bought kid because he gave her that doll and she was like smiling.
Yeah, keep your mouth shut.
Oh,
kid.
he wasn't a bad guy. So he tried to touch me. He bought me this really nice doll.
Yeah, because when he leaves, because Bronson lets him. Well, okay, before they leave, they hand the present to her, and then the mom says like, "Oh, our daughter wrote you this letter." And Bronson opens it, and it's in Japanese. He goes, "Oh, you're gonna have to read that." And it's some weird proverb about there being a boat at a harbor. And I wrote, she could have just told him this when they took
when
her
they
back.
were taking her. Yeah,
but she wrote it.
Why
some
this little
cryptic note.
song and dance? Now they got to decipher it.
They leave, but yeah, then Rita is like smiling as she opens the gift from them.
Yeah,
which you would think she wouldn't have any interest in this.
No,
yeah.
They could have. They should have just shown her throw it out, like put it in the garbage in the back.
She liked it. He wasn't a bad guy.
Oh, it's a really nice doll.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out how the Asian girl, how she knew like that he was on a boat. How did someone who was there for two days, maybe 3, all at once know all of his hideouts and the inner workings of his criminal organization?
Yeah, and then somehow write it in some poem.
Yeah.
Which was so weird.
He's hiding out on this boat. She writes a proverb.
And then, okay, so this next scene gets even weirder because this is the scene that they just didn't need to even have in the movie. Is you go back to Hiroshi's home and his daughter is in her bedroom wearing a kimono. She takes out heroin from this nice music box, jewelry box she has, and then kills herself. Or as Bronson would say, commits Harry-Carry.
Yeah. But did you notice she tied her feet together before she did it?
Oh, yeah.
Like she ties her legs together.
Like, why did they put this in the movie? It was like such a fucking downer at this point. It's like, Jesus. We need to see like a 12-year-old kill herself with an overdose of heroin? Like, why? What purpose?
In a kimono.
In a kimono.
Oh, so it's classy suicide.
And then how do we go from this scene, one of the craziest, most depressing scenes, well, to the barbecue? Yeah. As the chief and Bronson and his partner, they're all celebrating something. But then his partner gets a phone call. He tells Bronson to come on over, and he tells her the girl is dead from an overdose. Yeah. And I wrote lots of setup for this scene when they could have just revealed it anywhere.
He could have been like in his car driving.
This didn't have to be at a barbecue.
Yeah, here's what I think happened. They already wrapped the film. Danny wasn't satisfied enough. They said, well, we need her to kill herself. So this is the wrap party.
You know, you might be right because they never mention her killing herself anytime other in the movie. Like maybe they added it later or something. I don't know. It's very
Because you
odd
never
choice.
see the dad, Hiroshi. You never see any of them ever again. They cease to exist now in the movie.
No, it's like
So
they gave
weird.
him the present. That's a wrap. Hiroshi, great job. Champagne wrap.
Yeah.
You can go on home. So we go to Bronson's office. He's trying to decipher the letter, and then finally they realize, oh, maybe that thing we found in that guy's pocket wasn't a Mexican restaurant, but it had something to do with the harbor.
Yeah.
Weird, they're great detectives, so no wonder they didn't go and check that. Then we go to the harbor for pretty much the last scene of the movie. Bronson and his partner pull up. They spot Duke in a boat. They get in some weird car standoff. Bronson shines a light over at him. Then a giant claw comes down, like a claw machine.
Yeah,
claw.
love that.
Crushes Bronson's car and kills his partner.
That's a wrap on Bronson's partner, everybody.
I really thought the partner was going to make it too, because usually the partner doesn't make it that far in the film.
Yeah, but no, they wait till like the last 2 minutes and like, well, we'll kill somebody else.
Yeah.
So they pull the car in the air. Bronson gets out. The car drops. Duke and his friends drive away. Bronson somehow shoots them from the crane and kills the driver. Great aim with just a pistol. And like a revolver, too. Not even like a handgun.
Revolvers are actually easier to handle. So
like a 6-shooter he's got.
I'll give him that.
But he's like 70, about damn near 6 blocks away as far as height, spinning around on this giant crane. But yeah, he's like one-shot sniping all these people in the dark.
Yeah, with a handgun.
Yeah.
Well, it just so happens that Sean from looserounds.com and great friend of the show has some expertise on the subject. With 33 years of firearms use from competition, long-range shooting, and gunsmithing to professionally testing and evaluation, I think Sean's a good source for that. Sean, is this shot even possible?
Hey guys, answer the question about Chuck Bronson's shot from the crane. After watching it a couple more times on YouTube, it's doable. The crane's not moving. The car's maybe looks like it might be 30, 35 yards away when he takes the shot. It's moving straight towards him, so that's not, if it was moving side to side or oblique, it would be pretty tough. Straight on, it's almost, you don't have to factor in the movement as much because it's coming straight towards you. The angle of glass on the auto windshield usually is the toughest part on a car shot because the bullet, it'll hit the glass and then it'll follow the angle of the glass. It'll deflect away from it. But he shoots down. He fires 2 shots. So, his first shot was a miss. He makes on the second shot. That's doable for a guy that's competent and is pretty skillful. So you could make that shot. That's within reason. He shoots kind of low, hits the guy, looks like in the head or upper body. It's even kind of placed in a reasonable spot. Normally, if you're standing on the ground and you shoot at a car, if you wanted to hit a guy in the head, you'd have to aim almost at the dashboard because of the deflection of the shot. It would go up because of the angle of the windshield. So the crane's not moving. The revolver, it could be done. The bullet construction would have something to do with it. But that probably can be ignored. I'd say that somebody with pretty good skill or takes their pistol shooting seriously could probably do that. Maybe 2 shots. It's pretty doable. Thanks for the great show, guys.
Sean, thank you. And Mike, what happens next?
He kills the driver. They run into some boxes. Bronson rides this crane around like it's a ride until he shoots the crane driver. The crane keeps going. Duke drives the car. Bronson gets off the crane. They go around a little bit. The crane just starts blowing things up. There is that great part where random guys come out with Uzis.
Yeah.
And the way Bronson kills them with no urgency at all, he just bends down, shoots a trail of gasoline.
I can't believe that. Like he aims his gun. He's like on the pavement, on the ground. Muzzle of the gun right at the ground, fires it off. There's no ricochet of a bullet. There's nothing. There's magically the ground is now on fire,
and like it goes right to where these guys were standing, right by a bunch of gas tanks. Apparently, it explodes.
Well, I never figured out where Duke was going. Like he said, that's the way out.
So we think, what did he kill? Duke? No. The last scene in the movie, they're in jail.
Yeah.
Bronson brings Duke to his jail cell. With the guards. He says something about poetic justice will be served. And then I didn't know if you noticed this, but Danny Trejo makes an appearance in this movie.
Yeah, it's incredible.
They run him over. He goes to drive after him and then somehow and this is what I thought is, do you think he was playing his character from Con Air? Johnny 23? Where he's like the rapist?
Yeah. These are like both interconnected somehow.
Yeah, it's like in my mind, that's Johnny 23 from Con Air. And these inmates talk about how they're going to rape Duke. Duke gets mad. Cut back to Bronson. He just says,
"That's justice." Walks
out. End of movie.
Roll credits. Ladies and gentlemen, Kinjite.
So what's everybody's recommendation?
I'd recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's offensive. I'll say that.
It's great for World War II vets reunions.
Yes.
It's going to go over really well, I think.
It's just know going in that it's a trip, man.
Yeah.
This movie is crazy. And I mean, I thought it wasn't going to be as bad as it was, and then it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Oh, it snowballs into just the most. It's almost like a parody of itself. Like this is what's playing in the background of movies that are just not taking themselves seriously. And it's like, are you kidding me?
Well, I would recommend you get it with we all have it on the double pack with 10 to Midnight, which I actually like 10 to Midnight a lot. I mean, you get both these movies for like $6-7. I mean, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's a great pack. People really like 10 to Midnight, and the reason I picked Kinjite is because I think it's a much crazier movie in terms of content.
Oh God!
But everybody seems to hate this movie, which I thought was weird.
It's actually, racism aside, it's a good film. I'm like watching it. It's not schlocky. It looks like you're watching a real film.
The quality is way too high for what it is.
Yes.
Like there was a lot of money put into this movie.
I think it would have been better with a lower budget. Not to say it's a bad movie, but with a lower budget, it would have been a lot more fun. To see them get creative with what they wanted to try and do. Oh yeah.
And I think Corey's right that there's got to be some 3-hour supercut of this movie.
Oh, without a doubt.
Somewhere.
There are scenes here that just feel disjointed and are missing some other context that was left out. And
maybe Screen Factory will buy it and then put out like the big collector ultimate edition with like all the other scenes.
The director's
They're putting
cut.
out Death Wish 2, in 2 weeks. So.
Oh, nice. They're putting out, they'll have the director's cut of Kinjite, which goes all the way back to when Bronson was fighting in World War II.
Yeah.
And this is where he got his hatred of Asian people.
It actually comes with a piece of shrapnel from the bomb. That's
that would be awesome.
It has the scene where he first met his wife.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've gone way over our typical recording time. But it was a good show.
Yeah,
Corey, we're glad you could join us for this.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
And everybody, check out Corey's podcast. He's one half of the 1980s Movie Graveyard podcast. Mm-hmm. You guys once made Chris a nice meme about his tech story.
Yeah, that was awesome. But when I saw that you guys did Thrash, I was legitimately excited because I used to skate, and like I thought Gleaming the Cube sucked because it had too much story behind it, whereas Thrashing was just the most awesome film because the Daggers were such a cool gang, and the movie is so god awful. But I always liked it. Like I was a huge fan of that film. To this day, I am. You know, I don't have the Blu-ray. I still have the DVD. I need to get the Blu-ray, but yeah, I do have the Thrash T-shirt. You know, it says "Hot, Reckless, Totally Insane." So.
Yeah, that's a special movie. I remember seeing it for the first time and just being like, immediately falling in love with that film. So crazy, so good.
I was probably 12 or 13 when I saw it. I think somewhere out in there.
The first time I saw it was when the DVD came out. I'd never actually seen the movie before, and then just bought it because I saw it at Best Buy and was just like, whoa, where has this been all my life? This movie.
I don't think it played in theaters. I don't think it was theatrical. Or if it was, it wasn't, where I'm from here. So
it was like super small release, I guess, and it just bombed.
Yeah.
It did terrible.
And that's just weird because like skating was super hot when it came out too. But I remember a lot of skaters hated it and thought how stupid it was.
Tony Hawk hated it for sure.
Yeah, well, Alan Sachs says he brought about the skateboard revolution, but in a way, he may have killed it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, but what do you think is better, Thrashing or Gleaming the Cube?
Well, Thrashing's more enjoyable.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, Gleaming the Cube's doesn't have a West Side Story.
I was about to say West Side Story, yeah.
Or the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right, well, I think that'll about do it for us here at the Grindbin Podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at grindbin@gmail.com. You can find us on twitter.com/grindpod, Facebook, Instagram, or our website, grindhousefilm.com. And Corey, where can everybody find you?
1980smoviegraveyard.com, on Twitter at 80s Movie Graveyard, or on Facebook, 1980s Movie Graveyard.
All right, well, thanks for joining us, everyone. All right,
Bobby,
cool.
Bobby, park the van in front of the Hilton.